Hello everyone and welcome back to Simplilearn. There was a time when using artificial intelligence meant building a machine learning model, collecting a data set, training that model, and programming it for a very specific task. Today, you can simply describe what you need. You can even ask an AI system to summarize a 100-page document, analyze data, generate code, create an image, explain a difficult concept, draft a marketing campaign, or even help build an application. But here's the important part. Getting an answer from AI and getting the right answer from AI are two completely different things. You may have already experienced this, right? You ask ChatGPT or another AI tool a question and receive a generic answer. Then you modify just a few words in your prompt, add context, specify the format you want, and suddenly the response becomes dramatically better. So have you ever wondered, why does that happen? To understand it, we need to understand what is happening behind the interface. Actually, how does generative AI generate the content? What exactly is a LLM, that is large language model? What are tokens? Why are transformers so important? And most importantly, how can we communicate with these systems more effectively through prompt engineering? That is exactly what we are going to understand in this session. We will start from the foundation and gradually move towards practical prompt engineering techniques that you can use while working with modern generative AI tools. So to make sure you get most out of this session, I have broken it down into a clear step-by-step journey. First, we will understand what generative AI is and how it differs from traditional AI and machine learning. Then we will look at how AI evolved into modern large language models through deep learning, RNNs, LTSMs, attention, transformers, and so on. Next, we will explore how LLM works using tokens, parameters, and next token prediction, followed by transformers and the attention mechanism. After that, we will move into prompt engineering, where we will cover how to write better prompts using context, task, constraints, and output formats. We will also learn zero-shot, one-shot, and few-shot prompting. Moving forward, we will explore the full power of ChatGPT, including the difference between the versions like GPT 4.0 and also how to use multilingual features like voice and image analysis. We'll go beyond ChatGPT and look at the largest cutting-edge tools like Google Gemini, Sora for video generation, and also Grok for lightning-fast processing. And finally, we will wrap up with the must-know of AI ethics and how you can start building your own AI-powered projects. By the end of this video, you won't just be using it, you will be mastering AI. Also, just a quick information. If you are serious about moving beyond simply using AI tools and want to understand how AI systems are actually built and deployed, then you can explore Simplilearn's postgraduate certificate program in artificial intelligence and machine learning. The program takes you through the complete AI learning journey from machine learning and deep learning to generative AI, large language models, RAG, MLOps, and Agentic AI. You will also get exposure to modern AI technologies and framework while working on hands-on real-world projects. The program also includes masterclasses from IIT BHU faculty along with a program completion certificate from DAPT IIT BHU Varanasi and Microsoft Learn along with Simplilearn. So instead of learning AI as a collection of isolated tools, you get a structured pathway that helps you understand how the entire modern AI ecosystem fits together. You can find more information about the program through the link given in the description box below. Go check it out, enroll now, and start your generative AI journey today with Simplilearn. So before we move ahead, here's a quick quiz question for you. And the question is, which prompting technique provides the AI model with multiple examples before asking it to perform a similar task? And your options are zero-shot prompting, option B, few-shot prompting, option C, tokenization, or the option D, fine-tuning. Think about your answer and let us know your answers in the comment section below. And in case you don't know the answer, then do not worry, stay till the very end because you'll be finding the answer to this question in this video itself. So let's begin with generative AI itself. What exactly is generative AI? So artificial intelligence is the larger field concerned with creating systems capable of performing tasks that normally require some form of human intelligence. Within AI, we have machine learning. Machine learning allows systems to recognize patterns from data instead of requiring every decision to be explicitly performed. Within machine learning, deep learning introduced neural networks capable of working with much more complex information such as images, speech, and text. And generative AI extends these capabilities further. Instead of only asking which category does this belong to or what value should we predict, we can now ask create something new. A generative AI system can produce text, code, images, audio, designs, summaries, explanations, and many other forms of content. For example, traditional machine learning might classify an email as spam or not as spam, but generative AI can actually write that email. A conversational computer vision model might identify the objects inside an image, but a multimodal generative AI system can examine the image and explain what's happening inside it. This shift from mainly predicting and classifying towards generating and interacting is one of the reasons generative AI has become so influential. But generative AI didn't appear overnight. The journey began with early ideas around whether machines could demonstrate intelligent behavior. Then machine learning allowed computers to learn patterns from the data. Neural networks and deep learning made it possible to process increasingly complex information. Architectures such as recurrent neural networks or RNNs improve the processing of sequential information such as text. Then long short-term memory networks, better known as LSTMs, helped these systems retain information across longer sequences. But language still presented a major challenge. Consider the sequence. The developer updated the application because it had security issue. To understand that sentence correctly, a model needs to recognize relationships between words even when those words aren't next to each other. This is where the attention mechanism became extremely important. Attention allows a model to determine which parts of an input deserves greater focus when processing other parts. And eventually, this idea became center of transformer architecture. Transformers fundamentally changed natural language processing and became the architecture behind many modern large language models. That's how we reach system capable of generating natural, contextual responses at the enormous scale. Now, let's understand the term large language model, that is LLM. We can break it into three words, where first word is large. So large refers to the enormous scale of these systems, their training data, computational requirements, and model parameters. Now, the second word is language. It refers to their ability to process and generate human language. And model refers to mathematical system that has learned patterns and relationships from training data. But an LLM doesn't process language exactly the way humans see it. Suppose you enter artificial intelligence is changing business. Before the model processes this sentence, the text is divided into smaller units called as tokens. A token might represent an entire word, part of a word, punctuation, or another textual unit depending on the tokenizer being used. Those tokens are then represented numerically so that the neural networks can process them. When an LLM generates an answer, it essentially estimates which token is most appropriate to generate next based on the context it has already received. It generates one token, then uses that token along with the existing context to predict the next one. Then the next, and then the next. This continues until the response is complete. That means an LLM is fundamentally a probabilistic system. It isn't retrieving one permanently stored answer to every question. Instead, it is generating an output based on patterns learned during training and the information available in the current context. This also explains why changing your prompt can produce a different response. Now, let's return to transformers. Why did transformers models become so important? One major reason is attention. Consider the sentence. Ria gave Priya the laptop because she needed it for the presentation. There are several relationships the model must understand. Who does she refer to here? What does it refer to here? which word matters the most when interpreting the sentence. Attention mechanism helps model evaluate relationship between different elements of the sequence. Instead of treating every word as equally important, the model can assign different levels of importance depending on the context. Think about the way you study in a textbook. You don't treat every sentence as equally important, right? You underline definitions, you highlight important arguments, you connect one concept with another concept several paragraphs earlier. So, attention gives neural networks a mechanism that helps them make similar contextual connection mathematically. Modern transformer-based models use this mechanism extensively, which is one of the reasons they are capable of handling large languages. Once we have understood how LLM processes information, prompt engineering begins to make some more sense. Now let's look at some of the basic fundamentals of prompt engineering. A prompt isn't simply a question. It is information and instruction you provide to the model so it can understand what you want. See, compare these two prompts. First prompt says, write about AI. Now compare that with explain generative AI to a beginner in approximately 200 words. Use simple English, provide one business example, and end with 3 key takeaways. Both prompts discuss the same subject, but the second prompts give you the model far more useful guidance. So the first one was a weak prompt and the second one is a strong prompt. Which one would you choose? Let me know in the comment section below. See, a strong prompt usually communicates 4 important things. First, context. What situation are we dealing with? Then the task. What should the model do? Third one is constraints. What rules should it follow? And fourth one is output format. How should the final response be presented? You can also specify things like audience, tone, length, examples, terminologies, and structure. For example, you are explaining machine learning to the first-year college student. Explain supervised and unsupervised learning using simple language. Give one example of each and present the final comparison in a table. Now the model has much more information about the expected result. That's the fundamental principle of prompt engineering. The clearer the instruction, the easier it becomes for the model to generate a useful response. Now let's move into different prompting approaches, and here we will be discussing zero shot, one shot, and few shot prompting. So let's start with zero shot prompting. Zero shot means that you give the model an instruction without providing an example. For instance, write a professional LinkedIn post announcing the launch of a new analytical product. There is an instruction but no example. Next comes one shot prompting. Here you provide one example showing the model what kind of response you are expecting from it. For example, you can write, here is an example of the style I want and so on. Then you provide a sample post before asking the model to generate another one. So this was one shot prompting. And finally, we have few shot prompting. Here, instead of providing one example, you provide several examples. This helps establish a clearer pattern. It is important to understand that these examples are not retraining the underlying model. Instead, you are giving the model additional information within the current context. This is commonly referred as in-context learning. If consistency of tone, structure, classification, or formatting is important, examples can significantly clarify what you expect. So these were the 3 types of prompting, and I would always recommend using few shot prompting because the better the prompt, the better would be the result. See, some problems cannot be handled effectively with one broad instruction. For complicated tasks, it can be helpful to break the work into stages. Suppose you are creating a product strategy. Instead of asking, create a complete strategy for launching a product, you could break the workflow down. First, identify the target users. Then, based upon those users, identify their top problems. Then, based upon those problems, suggest 3 positioning approaches. And then, compare those approaches and recommend the best one. The output from one stage provides context for the next. Breaking a complex task into smaller stages makes the process easier to inspect and refine. So if something goes wrong, you can identify exactly which stage needs the improvement rather than rewriting the entire request. So this was the benefit of chain-based reasoning. Now, the another useful idea is self-consistency. For reasoning heavy tasks, instead of relying immediately on one generated solution, multiple candidate approaches can be explored and compared before setting on the final result. The underlying principle is simple. If a problem can be approached in several ways, comparing those approaches may produce a more dependable conclusion. Then we have tree-based exploration. Rather than following only one path, the problem can be explored through several possible branches. For example, suppose you are trying to reduce customer churn. One path might investigate product problems, another path might investigate pricing, another could examine customer support, and another could examine onboarding. Each branch represents a potential direction. The most useful directions can be evaluated further. So this style of structured exploration can be valuable for planning, problem solving, strategy, and other complex tasks where there may not be immediately obvious paths. Now let's look at how we can improve our prompts. So what should you do when an AI response isn't good enough? See, don't immediately assume the model can perform the task. First, inspect the prompt. Ask yourself, did I clearly explain the objective? Second, did I provide enough context? Third, did I specify the intended audience? And the fourth point, did I explain the output format easily? Next, would an example help? And is the task too large and should be broken into smaller stages? For example, instead of writing improve my resume, try writing review the following resume for a data analyst role, identify the 5 weakest bullet points, rewrite each using action verbs, measurable impact where supported. And concise professional language, do not invent achievements. That gives the model far clearer boundaries. So this is how you should write your prompt. Prompt engineering is therefore less about finding some secret collection of magical words and more about communicating requirements clearly and systematically. And that's ultimately the skill that makes generative AI more useful. Now that we have understood the basics of prompt engineering, from here our training experts will take you over and guide you through it in detail. So stay till the very end because it is going to be really interesting. All over to our training experts.
Referring to this term quite lately, right? And every day you could see generative AI, ChatGPT. Okay. So I ask this question to you guys. So what do you think? Like if I try to ask you a question, like in your mind, what is generative AI? What is ChatGPT? And in terms of a layman, how could you explain to me that if I ask you that what is generative AI, what is ChatGPT, what are large language models? So what do you think? Like what is the answer? Okay, so let me elaborate in terms of like what is generative AI. Okay, okay, or basically the term generative AI. What does it stands for? Okay, so let us try to explore the so in the terms of machine learning. So this is your generative AI. Okay, so then we have your deep learning. Okay, then then we have your machine learning. Then comes the artificial intelligence, right? So basically in the Gen AI, so here we could have your large language models. So we could say that generative AI is a subset of your AI, right? So because AI is the bigger picture and AI involves your machine learning, your deep learning, your generative AI, right? And we all know that deep learning is used to handle your complex tasks, okay, by the use of your CNN, RNNs, right? Yes. Oh, hi Radha. How are you? Okay. So what those who have joined late, so I was discussing that what is generative AI? So generative AI is basically it is a subset of AI which aims to have deep learning, machine learning, and AI terms all involved in this part. Okay. And deep learning, if you talk about in layman terms, is that it is to handle your complex data, which could be your image, could be your text, right? And it could be served by using your filters, kernels, and your CNN convolutions, right? And your RNNs, which is could be used for analyzing your time series data, okay, and your textual data, right, text data, right. And on the top of that, there could be a transformers models, like which could be uh, 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 here, which would lie in between of your deep learning and generative AI, right. So those who know about the transformer, okay, so basically it is an architecture which is your deep learning architecture, right, which involves your encoder decoder process. Okay. So if you don't understand, so forget it, right? Okay. So I'm not going into the depth of the transformers or this thing. So here we'll focus on the generative AI and the applications involved in terms of generative AI. And we will talk about what is generative AI, right? Okay. And ML, we all know that it is a statistical analysis, the models which we have already done, right? So trying to use pandas, your NumPy, your Seaborn, right? So these were the libraries which were used to process your data, and then we could apply any of the machine learning, such as logistic regression or your uh, linear regression, right? Or your XGBoost, or your bagging boosting, or your random forest. So these are the algorithms which could be used for classification or your regression task, right? So to predict something. So these were to predict something. Okay. And in the deep learning also we have a classification. Okay, we have a regression. Okay. And there another term involved in which deep learning could solve like your text summarization. Okay. And your sentimental analysis. So these were the tasks which could deep learning could solve. But the Gen AI, introduction of the Gen AI or the generative AI, it changed the overall picture. Okay. So I try to give a this thing that let's say you have a input text and you feed it to some Gen AI model, right? Generative AI, right? And it will try to solve multiple tasks. It could be your classification, it could be your summarization, okay? It could be your sentiment analysis, okay? It could be your code generation, right? Code fixing, right? So these tasks could be solved by using your generative AI model, right? So this is basically a model. It is a predictive model which aims to give you the next token generation, right? See, the term generative is to generate new or the next token, right? So that is why it is being termed as generative. It is try to generate a new text or the new token. Okay, so you try to put an input text. Let's say I want to go to, okay, dash, and you feed this input text to a generative model, and it will give you a long list of suggestions. You can go to a school, you can go to a college, you can go to an office, you can go to a market, right? And whichever the probability of these tokens, so these could be called as tokens. So this could be have your probability of, let's say, 96. This could have a probability of 0.5. This could be your 40. This could be 30. And out of this whole list of tokens which you are getting, this is as the highest probability. So that is why this could be your predictive model, which is trying to give you the next text or the next occurrence. That is why it is called a probabilistic model. So this is basically a model which will try to give you the next token occurrence. or the next token generation. And all this text and is being called as token. Okay, so don't try to confuse the text with the token, right? So text is something that I is a text, and token is a numerical representation of that particular text. Let's say I could be represented in terms of 56 because 56 is a number, and computer understands this language, not this language. So internally, what we do is when we try to talk in terms of coding, so internally this text is being converted into a token, which is being fed into a generative AI model. Okay, and on the basis of that, this tokens have a probability, and the highest probability it will try to give you that particular result or the output, that this is highest out of this whole corpus of the token. This is having the highest probability. Okay, and basically when you are trying to give more text, it will try to generate it, and it could be a summarization task, it could be a classification task or a code generation task, right? Based on those applications, it will try to give. Got it, a general idea, because like this is a very broad and a wide topic to discuss, right? But I've been trying to give you a basic gist that what is a generative model, generative AI, or a generative, like how does it work basically. When we will also try to see the applications, right? Chat GPT applications, that what is a prompt and how do you try to write a different prompts and the outputs which you are trying to get. Okay, fine. But in the overall, that you are trying to see that you give a input, okay, and input in the terms of a prompt. Okay, you are trying to give an input in terms of prompt, and you are feed to a generative AI model, which could serve many tasks or many activities which could be performed. Okay, so was the general idea, and we will be discussing more about it, right? Okay, I hope this is clear. So basically, like this was the overall picture I'm trying to give you, but in the coming sessions, like I will be discussing more about it. Okay, so it will be clear to it. But the overall picture I have given you, and I will be giving you more about it. That how does your generative AI work, and how what is the theory behind it, right? So okay, okay. So by the end of this session, we will be identify applications of Gen AI in solving your real world problems. Okay, and also we will try to create some effective prompts. Okay, so prompts is also basically a very effective manner in which we could clearly tell the Gen AI what exactly do I want. Okay, so let's say this prompt is basically you are trying to tell like a 2-year-old kid. Okay, so basically we want to make our prompts crystal clear and with a clear set of instructions. If you are trying to work with the chat GPT or some other Gen AI model, so the instructions should be crystal clear. So in your mind, so you have a lot of things. Okay. But when you are trying to give it to a Gen AI model, so basically you need to write the precise terms that what exactly you want. Okay. So let's say you are trying to write a prompt and there could be a spacing. Okay, so that also is being considered. A dot, okay, some special characters could be there. Okay, right? Or it could be a JSON, could be your XML, right? So how you are trying to give the information to particular tool, that is also important. The structure, okay, simple text, okay, or a JSON or an XML, okay. So what is preferred? Okay, so that is also a very effective way to write or communicate with the Gen AI tool. So that we will discuss. Okay, then we will also try to create some personalized documents, such as your resumes or conduct some research. Okay, so that also we will try to see. And then we will try to see some applications where your chat GPT has been built. Let's say write for me, Canva AI, or designer GPT, or consciousness, right? So these are basically various uh, tools which are given by your GPT, for handling specific tasks. Let's say for Canva AI, so this is basically for designing, and the Designer GPT is basically for your designing your websites, and Consciousness and your Universal Primer is basically for education research or something like that, right? So we will try to see the practical implementations of all these uh, utilities and tools, and we will try to write a prompt, and there I will try to tell you that how you can interact with these systems. So let's try to see the evolution of AI to generative AI. Okay. So in the 1950s, okay, so there was a tuning test. So basically, tuning test, like this was a test which was performed, like let's say, uh, right in a room. Okay, and there was a person inside a room and there was a person outside it. Okay, and this person will try to generate a sound. Okay, from from human and as well as from the machine. Okay, and this sound is being generated outside, and this person has to identify whether this sound is from machine or it is from the human. Okay, if it will try to recognize that this is the sound from the machine, okay, then it correctly identify that sound is from the human, right? So then it will try to see that okay, the tuning test has failed. Okay, so basically the idea is that like this sound is being trying to mimic that whether this sound is from human or from machine, and this person outside, which is outside the room, has to identify it correctly. If it identifies correctly, then tuning test has been failed. But if it doesn't identify correctly, then tuning test has been passed. So tuning test is basically a machine which is trying to mimic the humans, and it will try to fake this human being, right? The true human being. Okay, so that is what the tuning test was there. Okay. So then in the 1966, there was Eliza chatbot. Okay. So it was the chatbot using your large language, uh, your language processing patterns, right? So there were some kind of patterns which was processed in the language, and it mimicked the human conversations or the using your pattern matching or your pattern substitution. Okay, so basically it gives the users an illusion of understanding, but it does not have the contextual information. Okay, so that chatbot is basically developed by using your language processing and pattern matching. Okay, then in the late 1980s, there came the era of neural networks. Okay, so neural networks, basically the concept came from the neurons, right, in the brain, right, and which is basically it is trying to solve your complex uh, problems. Let's say we have an image and we wanted to recognize that image, that whether this image is of a dog or a cat, right? Okay, so can a human identifies this image and tries to recognize? So this was the task, and the first challenge or a breakthrough in the neural network was the AlexNet, right, where it will try to recognize the numbers. Right? So these numbers were trying to recognize by using a CNN or an neural network layer, which correctly identifies that a machine can recognize a pattern or a number if we try to feed an image to a neural network. So the basic idea was that we have a neural network, okay, which is AlexNet, and we will try to feed an image, and it will try to classify that if the image is displayed a number 5 on it, and it will try to recognize 5. Okay, so this was the task given to it, right? And this task was a supervision task, or basically supervised task. Basically we have lot of images which were prior fed to it, and we trained the neural network model which will try to recognize this particular image, uh, right? Okay, so this was the neural network. Then came the LSTM. So LSTM basically, or your RNN or an LSTM, right? So based on the challenges or the drawbacks on this CNN, So RNN was built. So basically, it could only try to process fixed length data. So in the image, we could have a fixed length of data in which it could be a 5 cross 5 image, right? 3 cross 3 image, or 256 cross 256, right? Okay. So these were the limitations. But here in the RNN, we could have a text, we could have a time series, right? And we could have states. Okay, so where our information could be passed from one state to another, and it will try to give me a classification or a sequence to sequence generation. All these tasks were given to it. Okay, right? So this is what was basically your LSTM. Okay, long state uh, memory, uh, long state LSTM. I forgot the definition. LSTM, long short term memory, like long short term memory, right? So networks, these were the LSTM. Then in the year 2014, so there came the GRU and the attention mechanism, right? Okay. So there, by the use of this attention mechanism, so which was introduced in the transformer model lately in the year 2017. Okay. So basically, RNN was doing great. Okay. So basically, RNN and had a job in which, let's say, I wanted to convert this text. I want to go to market. Okay. So this text I wanted to convert to a Hindi language. मैं market जा रहा हूँ, right? Right. So this I wanted to convert into Hindi. So this is basically a example of language to language translation. So this is an RNN and this is an RNN block. So where one of the inputs is being passed to an RNN block, right? We have the states, and this states is being processed by another RNN, which will try to convert it, right? So just I'm trying to give us this that what is an RNN. So here you try to understand this. This is some kind of a block which is called as an encoder block. It will try to encode the data, and the output is being passed to a decoder block, and it will try to decode the information, and then it will try to recognize some patterns or some processing. It will try to do it, and it will try to convert this text to a Hindi text, right? So this is basically a neural network. So this is your neural network, and this is your neural network, right? So based on the concept that I has to be converted to मैं want to like मैं जा रहा हूँ, मैं market जा रहा हूँ, right? So this is basically a machine to machine translation in which every character has to be converted into another language based on the context, right? Okay. So basically the thing was that there were some challenges in the this block, which is your encoder and decoder. So the translations was not effective because the thing was that it doesn't laid the stress on which type of statement or which types of words are really important to that particular translation. Let's say want is important or market is important, which would have the higher weight. So basically, this problem was solved with the help of your attention mechanism, where every word has been assigned some kind of an weights to it. Okay, so let's say I could be important, and in the next statement also that he comes. So I and he are interrelated. Okay, so then we know that these two terms are talking about the same person. So then we assign some weights to it. Okay, weights we try to assign some higher weightage to it, that this is important. Two could not be important. Okay, so two has the less weightage as compared to the I. Market could also be important. Okay, it could be also have some weights. So as compared to two and market, so two could be a lower weightage and market could be a higher weightage. Go could be important, right? And want could be important. So this way you can just try to recognize that by use of some attention mechanism, we can just try to focus that in a particular sentence, which words are really important. And we could pass to this decoder mechanism. Okay. So let's say, consider in this part, let's say I wanted to give you some, actually we are trying to read some document. Let's say, okay. So while reading some document, if we are trying to read some sentence, right? So we try to highlight this sentence. Okay, so this part is important. This part could come in the exam. Okay, so this term is important. I could read and memorize. So this is how exactly human thinks. So similarly for the machines also, we if we try to provide some kind of an weighting mechanism that okay, so let's say these words are really important. You assign some weights to it. You assign some higher weightage to it, so that when I try to pass to another platform or another system, so I could see that according to this or this, so this has a higher weightage. I could only focus on this text, not this text. Understood? So that is why the translation could be effective. Instead of seeing the whole document, I could only focus on those which has a higher weightage. So this was the gist of your attention mechanism. Okay, so I am not going into the maths or the equations of the attention mechanism. So the basic idea is that when you try to feed a sentence and the words which correspond to that sentence, the words which have higher weightage or which are of importance, so is being treated treated with more attention, basically. That works. Okay, if you are trying to pass it to the decoder mechanism and for that part. Okay, right. So if you are trying to understand this partly also, then it is also correct. Okay, because this thing is being like, if we try to explain the whole process, it will go like we will deviate from our original topic, right? So this topic is not recommended, right? So I was just wanted to give you the generative AI and the tools. Okay, but for the theory part to understand, so this is your attention mechanism, right? Okay. So now uh, this after the attention mechanism came, okay, after the attention mechanism came, then it was a transformer. So transformers came into existence with your attention mechanism. Okay, right? So there was a paper, attention all is you need. So that was a major breakthrough in your transformer model. And from there, okay, so we have emerged in the transformer where we have a encoder and a decoder architecture. Okay, so this was the encoder decoder architecture, right? So basically, you feed this text to input text to an encoder, and it will try to produce a translation. Okay, right? So this was the task which was given to a encoder decoder mechanism. Okay, so the next part, like which was there, this was encoder decoder. Another part could be your encoder only part, in which you could pass the text and it will generate some uh, classification for you. Okay, which could be a bird, right? So this was the paper or the model which was released by Google, which is bidirectional encoder representation transformers, right? So then this is your BART, which could be your encoder decoder, and your T5, right, which could handle multiple tasks. Not only your this thing, it could handle, right, translation, it could also handle multiple tasks, right? So T5 was the kind of architecture which was released by Google that is possible to handle multiple tasks. And this is your encoder decoder, which could be only used for classification. And we could have your decoder only, in which we could pass the input, and it could be text generation, which is your GPT or your LLM. So guys, LLM is basically your transformers, okay, which is inside your transformers. We have three categories, which is your encoder decoder, or only encoder. And that part is your LLM is decoder only. So LLM is only your decoder only part. Okay, in terms of your transformers. This you need to understand that it is only for the text generation, that it will try to a probabilistic model in which we are trying to generate some text. Okay, you try to feed some input and it will try to give you the next token or the next sentence or the next word, right? The next word sentence generation, so this GPT model is capable. So that is why we have clearly evolved from tuning test to neural network. Then we have the RNNs, then the LSTM, then the GRU. Then the attention mechanism was the breakthrough in the transformers, where we have three kind of transformers, which is your encoder only, your decoder only, and encoder and decoder both. Okay, right? So this is your LLM, which is your decoder only part. So all the chat GPT, your Gemini, your Grok, right? And like there are more, right? Claude. Okay, all these are decoder only architectures with a little variation. Okay, and trained on millions of data. Okay, right? So this is your chat GPT series. So on the basis of your LLM, which is your decoder only part. So this is being evolved. Chat GPT 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 4.0, and so on. And still it is being continuing. As we talk, so there is some chat GPT series which is being evolving by some other company, and over the time it will be just released. Okay. So pardon me if I have not updated to the ChatGPT series or some other tools, right? But the race is never ending, because every company is going and making their own custom made GPTs, right? Okay, okay. So up till now, any questions, any doubts, anything you don't understand, let me know. Okay, so basically this was the evolution from AI to generative AI. Okay, right? Okay. So now, as I already told you, that AI could be, as one of the student pointed out, right? That AI is basically generating new content such as images, text, music, or other forms of creative output. Okay. So here now, in terms of this, so this is your LLM. Now I will call it as a decoder model, a transformer model. Okay, and this is the architecture which you are trying to feed some input and it will try to generate some output. And this LLM model is being trained on lot of data, right? So there are two things which comes under your trained model, right? Which is your parameters, right? Model size could be say that, and your training data, right? So chat GPT 2 was having 1.7 billion parameters, right? Close to 1.7 billion parameters. And the ChatGPT was having 175 billion parameters. ChatGPT 3, right? So you can see the difference, that how many parameters are there. Parameters are just the weights, okay, of any model. If a machine learning model has some trained weights or trained weights, so these are the called as parameters. And you can see that if you have so much weights, the model size will also be large. So the model size was 16 GB, the ChatGPT 2. But here it is like, I guess like it is more than 16 GB. Okay. And the data set which is being trained on these ChatGPT is like around like 500 GBs and so on, right? And more, right? So so it is being trained on huge amount of data, which will have huge number of parameters. Okay, and that is why these chat GPTs you cannot train on your system first of all. Okay, so this I will try to make you clear. Chat GPT 2, they have released the model weights. you can download these model weights on your system, which is of 16 GB. Okay, and you can try to run the inference on your system. But ChatGPT 3 onwards, they haven't given the model weights. So they have given in the form of an APIs. Okay, so that is what we are trying to do is we are trying to call the OpenAI or some Gemini or a Google API to write the prompt and get the output. Okay, so we are calling their servers where these models have been hosted on their servers, not ours. We cannot download this, right? But this we can do it, but it will require at least 16 GB RAM because when you are trying to work on a model, so or train it or do some inference on it, so it will that model gets loaded into your RAM. So at least 16 GB of RAM is particularly required for loading your ChatGPT model into your local system. Okay, fine. So this was the thing that these generative AI models are so large that you cannot run on your systems or trying to train on your system. Okay, right? Earlier, like if you are trying to do a deep learning or a machine learning, we could clearly do some training based on the data. But data was so small. Let's say 10,000 samples or 1 GB data, 10 GB data, right? So this we can do it, right? This was not an issue. But here for the generative AI, so it is being trained on huge and huge volumes of data. That accumulation of huge volume of data, you cannot firstly cannot do it. Secondly, it requires hardwares also to run and perform the training, right? After the training, so you try to make a model. So that model they have already provided to us in the form of an APIs, which we are trying to use as. So this is the whole process where your APIs, your chat GPT is being trying to work. And then these models are capable of trying to solve multiple tasks, whether it is an text generation, right? It is your email classification, sentimental analysis, right? Voice recognition, right? Or your messaging or a chatbot, right? So all these tasks could be effectively uh, uh, done by your generative AI. So what are the objectives? So the objective of the generative AI is to independently generate new content. Okay, so content generation is a probabilistic model which will try to generate new content by deriving a structure from the recognized patterns. So recognized patterns that we have large amount of data. From that large amount of data, it will try to recognize the patterns and identify that how I can generate that content. And the another thing is that it assists us in some complex problem solving, right? So let's say like you try to have a large amount of data, right, which is being already this model is being trained on, and it you try to write some problem. Okay, this problem it tries to identify and see that this similar problem has been solved or by some other, right, based on that data it will try to recognize and it will try to give you some variety of options. Okay, so that is also we are trying to see nowadays. We wanted to write an email, we will quickly tell the context that I wanted to write an email, that I wanted to apply a leave, I wanted to write to a professor about the project submission, and so on, right? It will try to effectively generate that application or that email which is being nicely written. And according to the context we provide to this, it will try to generate, right, and seeing these patterns, and it will try to give us the output. Okay, and this in fact has boosted our creativity. Okay, because it will try to produce unique outcomes. Okay, and also time saver also, and new ideas and possibilities. So nowadays there are some tools effectively in which there could be a no code, right? So you don't need to learn the coding. Okay, effectively you can ask tell the tool to effectively create the website, to write the code for me, and it will try to write the code effectively for you. All we have been doing this, right? But in sometimes there the human intervention is also needed, because these generative AIs, right, hallucinate a lot. So what is hallucination? Hallucination means that yes, Pooja, yes, it is basically, yeah. So the human intelligence or the human creativity, we would be dependent on these tasks or in these chatbots or these AI systems, right? So all those sci-fi movies which we try to see, that the in the 80s they try to send us a message that these human humanoids or these chatbots or this AI technology will try to outcast us, and it will try to rule us. So that will we try to see in coming 10 years or this. But the thing is that, like, we can just uh, try to control this technology, okay, and try to be productive in that sense. So first tries to uh, uh, see that how we can leverage our brain to the most effective task, and then we can just ask these chatbots or these effective systems, okay. But in terms of creativity, yes, it has boosted our creativity. Okay, and nowadays it is being need for every individual to learn these tools. Okay, because every organization, every company, right, is asking to implement the AI solutions or the AI tools, and start using these tools. Because if you don't use these tools, so you will be left behind. Okay, and using these tools, so use these tools in such a manner that it will try to increase the your productivity, and it could be a time saver for you. Okay, in that time you can perform other tasks and just be more productive in that. So all I can say that, like, if you are trying to use this AI tools, so use with a caution, that instead of getting your brains damaged or being fully dependent upon these tools, so use your some ideas or some suggestions that how you can outcost this technology, right? Right, Suja? Did that answer your question? Okay. Now comes the large language models. So we were talking about this large language models. So these are pre-trained models. Okay, so what I was trying to tell you, so these have been already been pre-trained. Okay, so you don't need to train on your system. So training, it is impossible to train. Why? Data, hardware, right? These are the two things in which you have a constraint. So there is a huge amount of data, so which you cannot collect, and the hardware specifications, which is your with multiple GPUs or high processing GPUs, which is very costly, and like individually you cannot make this happen, and it is being big organizations which are using these technologies to leverage and release these pre-trained models to the customers. Okay, right? Okay. So these pre-trained models are capable of understanding, generating human-like text, okay, across various tasks and domains. And as we are trying to see that, okay. So in every domain, these technologies are being ranging. If you talk about in your images, your music, right, and your other things, right, advanced models. So these terms are being widely being used. Okay, so now let's break down this term into three parts: large, language, and model. So large, why large is this term referred? Because of the significant size. Like as I told you, 176 billion parameters, right? If 176 billion parameters, and you need to require like around, like, if I try to see that 300 GBs of your RAM to run your inference on a single system. So close to. I'm trying to say that how many parameters, just multiply by 2 and you get a GP. So let's say if your chat GPT was having 1.5, right? Uh, 1.4, right? Let's say 1.4 billion parameters, right? Close to like 16 GB or close to 20 GB was required, right, to do the inference. Okay, so nowadays these billion was, I'm talking about ChatGPT 3. Okay, ChatGPT 4, like this is much large according to the size and the complexity also. Why language? So primary function is to understand and generate human-like language, right? So this is basically a large language, a probabilistic model, okay, and a generative model which is trying to generate, and it is a transformer-based architecture which is having a decoder-based architecture, right? So this was the base with your attention mechanism, okay, right? So this is your large language. And model, it is your mathematical representation which captures the patterns and the structure of a language data. So the model contains some of the architecture. What is the architecture behind? So that we are talking about your decoder architecture, and it could vary, right? It could vary from GPTs to another GPTs, or could another vary from companies to company. So the basic decoder model is basic. They have used the basic decoder model, and then on the top of that, they have modified that basic decoder model, and the newer architectures are releasing and coming. Okay, right? So the overall architecture is your decoder, vanilla decoder model, and on the basis of that, they are trying to change some of the architecture of that to just try and release some what we call state of the art models in future, or in these days. Okay. Yes. So now we'll talk about widely used LLMs. So ChatGPT 3.5, 3.4, okay, 3.5, 4, 4.0, right? Mini, right? So these were released by OpenAI. Okay. Then we talk about Gemini, which is being released by Google, Llama, right? Meta AI, then Falcon, okay, Technology Innovation Institute, TII. Then we have Cloud V2, Cloud V2 more, V1, V2. Okay, so this is used by Anthropic. Okay, so these are the various companies which we have these models, and they have released their keys. Keys means your API keys. Okay, so you cannot access these models. Okay, so they have their chat interface. Okay, so which will try to see your chat GPT. And in terms of your coding, if you wanted to use this model, so they have with the APIs also. So these APIs are free at some level, but they are chargeable. Okay, so they charge, right? So when you try to use their APIs in your code or wanted to build some applications, so using your Python or your front end or any application, so all these companies have given their API keys. So you can just uh, create an account on these particular uh, portals, and then request for their API keys. So you have an API key which is free of cost for some time for some initial tokens. And once these tokens have been expired, and then they start giving you notifications that you need to pay to continue the service. Okay. Okay. Some of the tools or some of the models are open source also. Okay, it is not that like these are already are chargeable. Okay, so these are chargeable. Okay, but initial level we can have a limit that we can use up till like 20 tokens or 30 tokens, or based on their portals they keep on updating. But there are some uh, tools such as Olama. Okay, so this is your free. Okay, so you can use this tool. Okay, so like I will be talking about Olama also, right? Maybe tomorrow, or day after tomorrow, or maybe in the next session. Okay, right? So that you can use it, and then you can just explore with it, or you wanted to understand it, right? But these free tools come with some challenges. So either they are slow enough because it is being your downloaded on your system, Okay, and they come with some challenges. So just trying to just educate you about the free tools as well as your paid tools. Okay, so now the features, it will try to generate the content, text summarization, sentiment analysis, data extraction, and language translations. Okay, so these are some of the features we if we wanted to do the text summarization. So let's say I have a text and I wanted to generate the summary out of it. Okay, so that it will try to give you the summary. So let's say you have having a chapter, a book, okay, in which you don't want to read the whole chapter. You just try to give fill all the data and just ask a prompt that I wanted to give a summary in 2000 words or 200 words, and it will try to give you the summary. Okay, but it will occur with the token cost, which is this key API, right? Which I'm trying to tell you that when you are trying to feed the input data, that is being divided into tokens, and the output data which is being generated, that is also having some tokens. So this token plus this token, it will try to add up, and let's say this is your 200 or 2000 tokens, and this is your 200 tokens. So total is your 2200 tokens. So now you see that 2200 tokens have been expired. Okay. So just try to make sure that when you are trying to write the input and generate the output, so you don't so they are trying to make the mechanism of costing with the help of this token zone. Okay, so this is the gist of GPT. Like they try to give you the APIs which is free, and they say that okay, up till this many tokens you are free, but if you exceeded your tokens, then I will charge you. Okay, so that is what it says. And the token cost, how they calculate, by the input text, every word is being converted into token. Okay, so maybe that word could be divided into some tokens, and the number of tokens would be dependent upon that word. Okay, so there are various strategies or various methods they use it to convert your word into tokens, and after that they will try to calculate the cost. Okay, right? Fine. So this is how your ChatGPT works. Now, uh, coming back to Gemini, so it aids in complex problem solving and code generation. Okay, so if I try to see or tell you that, okay, which of these models is best? Okay, either OpenAI is best, or Google's is best, or Llama is best, or Falcon or Anthropic. Okay, until and unless you don't use it, you will never know that what is best suited for you. Okay, so maybe in one problem statement, like in my case, like let's say I'm trying to work on a solution that in my part that I work with Gemini or I work with Cloud, right? Okay, so it has given me excellent results, and ChatGPT hasn't given me the excellent results. Okay, like in another problem situation, ChatGPT works fine for me, and these will not give some solution to me, right? So it depends. Okay, so you can try any of these models. Okay, every company is trying to tell you that I am trying to work on a complex problem and code generation, and I do this. I try to work on language translation or content creation. Okay, so basically, it is up to you. Okay, so which part you wanted to use? But OpenAI is aggressively changing its models, is changing its technology, is changing its architecture to give you better results. Okay, and Google is also a big organization which is also releasing it. Okay, and day to day with some of the researchers, some of the scholars, so they are trying to work on complex problem solving solutions. Okay, so Ashish, I will try to give you some ChatGPT live demonstration tools also. So there we will try to discuss this thing. So for the every, like in the beginning also I said that for the designer I have a separate ChatGPT tool. For making reports there's another thing, right? So that we will try to see in a few or maybe in the second half we will try to see. So Falcon is also another, so which tells you that common reasoning and sentimental analysis, right? And Anthropic. So Anthropic, I've been using Anthropic, Llama also, your ChatGPT also, right, into day-to-day activities, and whichever like is giving me the results. And Grok is also very good, right? So Grok gives you a detailed explanation, as I already seen that, and in it also supports language, multiple language. If I talk in Hindi and try to say that, like my parents are old enough and they try to tell the Grok in Hindi, and it supports Hindi language also, and it will try to give me the answers in Hindi also. Okay, right? So basically it is up to you guys. Okay, so these tools are already available in the market, and you can use and experiment with this. And until and unless you don't experiment and don't use it, so then you don't make a choice. Okay, okay, but the idea is that like these all tools are chargeable. Okay, at one point of a time, maybe like they have a daily limit. Okay, or they have a token limit. Okay, in a day you can spend these many tokens to use it, and over the time they would decrease their charge, because these all companies are coming, and like they would be a part and parcel of our life in the coming months or years, and they would be free of cost, because their cost would be minimum. So, like as per the uh, tech enthusiasts and other tech savvy people, they are trying to predict it. Okay. So now let us try to see that how this top Gen AI tools are transforming various industries. Okay. So now, so this is your Gen AI in the terms of code. We have the Copilot. Okay. So this is an excellent tool. Okay. So majorly companies are using this code Copilot, okay, to be integrated with your IDs. Okay, so when you are trying to write the code and you have a problem statement, when you are building some application or writing some logic. So if you want to clearly describe that logic, so Copilot does the work for you, and it will try to generate the code. And based on that, like you can just run that code, and this has solved lot many what we call time, right? And also there are new things or new uh, patterns which come, right, which you don't know basically, right? So this is also a very effective tool in terms of your writing your effective code and helping you. It basically acts as a co-pilot for you, in which you drive to it and then you write your logic, and it will try to correct you, and it understands you and give you the output. Okay. So then AI, Mutable AI, and these are also some of the other tools which are being used for other companies, and you can just refer to these tools and then use it. Okay. Then conversational and text, we have the Cloud AI, right? Chatsonic, okay. Then Palm 2, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, Notion AI, right? So this is basically we are trying to make a conversation. Okay, like all these your chat GPT, Grok already we have discussed. Jasper is also a very good tool. Okay, okay. So if you wanted to have the flows, so Fitbot, Sleepy AI, Bird Brain, right, Otter AI, right. So every company based on some specific business use case or flow, they are trying to develop these chat GPTs and these so Copilot, yes, Copilot, every organization is following this Copilot, okay, right? In terms of whether you are trying to integrate or work in your VS Code or your PyCharm, right? So it gets integrated, right? Even if in your teams also, as we just stated, so it is getting integrated with other applications. Okay, I will also teach you one tool where this is a chat GPT tool where you can integrate with your browser. Okay, we will have a demo in the second half, right? Okay. So then we have the designs tools also. So DALI, right, is a very effective tool which is being used by OpenAI, Canva, right? So this we will see design AI, logo AI, right? And Mid Journey, right? So these tools you can just work with your designs, right? In which you can create your creative designs or creative pictures by feeding them. Okay. So this is wonderful. Stable diffusion is also a very good tool, right? Okay. For the sound, right? If you wanted to do something in sound, okay. So then we have the audio crypt and EVA, then your 11 labs, right? So these you can just explore it. For the videos also, right? So Synthesia, Pictory, right? AppSense or Sora AI, right? So these are also some tools in which if you are working with your video, so you can just explore it. Okay. So some tools are free, some are chargeable, some gives you a 1 month subscription. Okay. But in the end, so they are all commercialized, guys. Okay. So there are no free lunches. Okay, everyone is asking to pay and use these tools, okay, according to your convenience, and you can just select whatever tool you like and is best suited for your productivity. You can just go with it. Okay, some of the tools I've personally used. Okay, so Copilot, I'm trying to use it for a quite a long time, and in the terms of coding and this thing, this is proven effective. Okay, right. So other tools I like use it like Grok or ChatGPT or Jasper. Okay, so on the basis of your free access, that I use it, and if by changing the emails, so you can use it. Okay, and then 1 month you get a subscription, and then you can try it out. And if you think that your work is not uh, uh, you cannot survive with these tools, so then you can just pay and use that tools. Okay, okay. So let us try to see resume cover and using your chat GPT. Okay. So so let's see that if you have a resume and but we are not unsure that if the matches the job description. Okay. So we can just align or quickly effectively update the resume with the job description and save time. Okay, because so this is a common basic requirement we have if we are trying to apply to different company and different companies have different job requirement. And what it does is like let's say the company has listed a job profile and according to your resume that is not meeting the criteria and you are not trying to get the shortlisting done. Okay, okay. So in that case, let's use the Chat GPT and where we can just see that how you can use it. Yes, yes, Saurabh. That is also good. They are also giving the subscription. So basically, it is for the free version. So if you wanted to go, you can click on this upgrade and then you can have it, right? So if you wanted to have the upgradation, okay, so this is for $20 per month. Okay. So here what we are trying to get the deep research, multiple reasoning models, O4, mini, high, O3, and deep research view of ChatGPT 4.5. Okay, right? And limited access to Sora video generation because these ChatGPT has uh, what we call sub tools or uh, uh, sub applications, right? Which is being used for specific areas. Let's say for Canva, for writing text. Okay, so these are the things which we can use. Okay, so like if you feel like this is like needed for my day-to-day activity, so you can just go and just get the this version. Okay, okay. So now I've shared your full content. Okay. So now let me try to explain you what I have shared it. Okay. So these are the details. The candidate profile is name Alex Johnson, experience is 5 years, industry is information technology, and these are the skill sets. Okay. So basically what I did is like this is your resume. Okay. Basically this is your position full stack company, innovative tech solutions, San Francisco, California, and this is the job responsibility, right? Okay. So now up till here, it is your basic prompt, basic this thing, where we wanted to create a resume for Alex. Okay, showcases 5 year journey in the IT industry as a full stack developer. Okay, so it should highlight this expertise in Python, Java, JavaScript, and key frameworks like Django, React. Okay, as was well as skills in database and cloud technologies like Postgres, MongoDB, and AWS. The resume must emphasize is Alex leadership in project development, team collaboration, passion for technology, and continuous learning. Okay, right? So there it is basically it could Alex could be you also. Okay, so here in the first part we have been trying to give the uh, resume of a particular person, and in the next part we are trying to tell a large language model. Okay, so you wanted to create the resume for me that highlighting these expertise areas, and if a company has some job requirements, then we can also add it here that this company is asking for the job requirements. Can you modify my above uh, resume to match their specifications? That also you can do it. Okay, so basically it is writing an effective prompt. Okay, so just try to do it and hit enter and let's see what it will try to generate it. Okay, so it has given you that Alex Francisco, this is your email ID and this is your LinkedIn, or this is your GitHub, and this is your professional summary. Okay, so earlier, like it was not basically a summarized version, but here now it is being looks like a professional resume. The core competencies, like if I try to see as an HR or a recruiter, so I could see that this is a professional summary where the like Python, Java, JavaScript, and your various technologies are being listed down. And I could also parse these technologies because like these technologies what we are trying to require in our current company, right? Okay. So this is your core competencies where you know React, you know Node.js, Python, or a full stack, right? So these we are trying to have a requirement. Okay, that's good. Docker, Jenkins. Then we have the professional experience. Here, what projects we are trying to do it and what we are trying to do it, right? So this you can just see. Okay, so this is basically taken from your resume itself only. Okay, so education and your certifications and your project highlights and your soft skills and technologies, right? Okay, and then also it is trying to see that that if you try to have a Word or a PDF version, or you can create a customized cover letter for this role. Okay, so you can just see that what matches your requirement. Okay, so basically what you are trying to do is you are trying to you have feed some data. Based on that data you are trying to ask something, right? So basically if I talk about this is basically the instructions, right, given to your LLM. Okay, and the above part what we have used here, this above part, so this is your resume, this is your context. Using this context, using this your general information or your knowledge, you are trying to give me some output which is more refined, and it is more attractive, and it is much more better than the original one. Okay, so this is the task which we intend to do, and we are trying to do that, right? So, so basically, like based on the prompt, you are trying to tell that it must emphasize the leadership in product development, team collaboration, passion, and technology, and these terms, right? Okay, right. So this is what like I want you guys. If you have your resume also, you can just effectively change this and try to work on it. And if you wanted to ask some other information that you want the formatted part in a PDF or on a Word part, okay, so that also you can do it. But make sure that like your account doesn't get exhausted because this is basically your tokens, okay, and the output is also your tokens which are getting generated, and right, it may have a daily limit of using this. Okay, okay, for the general day to task that it is effective for us to do. Everybody fine with this? Yes, no? Okay. So guys, so let me tell you. So there is no such hard and fast rule. Okay, that which LLM you can use. Okay, so it could be a ChatGPT, could be a Gemini. Okay, so it could be basically like the accuracy and the output which is being generated from these various LLMs uh, could have a evaluation criteria. How do you evaluate these systems? So that is a big challenge. Okay, whether the data which you have given or the question or the prompt you have asked, on the basis of that, is it giving you the correct option? Okay, so sometimes it happens like when you are trying to write some logic, okay, and you try to tell that, okay, this is the problem statement, I want this code, and it will give you the exact code, and maybe that code is not running it properly. It is giving you errors. Okay, so maybe one task it has performed better, and another task it is failed miserably. And on the other sense, these models, you can just try with other models and check that accuracy. But there is no and fast rule of checking the evaluations. Okay, so however, there are some metrics which is being denoted. Okay, so perplexity is a metrics. Okay, so this is not a tool. Okay, so this that I'm not talking about the tool. I'm talking about the general term. So perplexity is a evaluation criteria also, right? In which I wanted to evaluate my language model, that on what basis that language model has a score which is better than ChatGPT, or if same question could be asked to ChatGPT or a Gemini or a Falcon or a Cloud area, which one is performing better? Okay, so that evaluation tool is basically this thing, and another evaluation is your human evaluation. Okay, so you know best that according to your problem statement, this is working fine, and this works better. Okay, so that human evaluators are best in these terms. Okay, so I hope everybody is back. Okay, so now let's quickly dive into the prompt. So can anyone tell me what is prompt? Yes, input we provide. Okay, okay. So let us try to understand. Yes, commands or message we write to these tools. Okay, fine, great, great. Okay, so let us try to understand these prompts. So prompt, what is a prompt? It is a natural language text that instructs the generative AI models to perform a specific task. So we have seen an example where we have provided some context, okay, that resume. And in the later part, we have written some set of instructions that on the basis of this resume, I want to modify my resume in such and such a manner. Okay, right? So a well-crafted prompt guides the Gen AI to understand the context and the specific requirements of the task in hand. Okay, so well-crafted. So the prompt what you write should be a well-crafted prompt. What does that mean? It should have proper spacing, proper instructions to be given. Okay, okay, right? And it should be clear and precise. It should not be some kind of a vague uh, thing that you try to just tell the LLM model, okay, he will try or she will try to understand it on your own. Okay, so just don't think it in such a manner that whether you have written some kind of an instruction which is vague, which is incomplete, and it will automatically try to understand it. Maybe it can recognize, but the chances are very less, because it because a well crafted prompt, a proper instructions prompt will give you the best answers. Also, the second thing, the cost, the tokens, as I already told you, as one of the learner has already expired its tokens, the daily limit. Okay, so maybe that you must be a cost effective also, in which we are trying to use these tokens in such a manner that it should clearly describe the task which you wanted to tell the LLM to perform. Okay. right? So precise prompt can lead to a more focused and useful output, and it has act as a bridge between the user intent and the AI execution. Okay, so basically, what is my intent and how the AI is getting that intent executed? That is basically a prompt. Okay, so prompt is basically a set of instructions which we are trying to give it to the LLM to perform our desired operation. That prompt should be clear, should be precise, should be well crafted, should not include, let's say you are trying to include some spaces, additional spaces. I want to, then you put a space. This is also counted as a token, right? Okay, so just make sure that it also recognize some pattern that you have written something like this, and maybe on that pattern it will try to recognize it. Okay, so make a proper English language understanding that it will try to give you the exact answer. Okay, okay, fine. So prompt could be a basic, straightforward question, right? And the language model provides an answer based on the training data, right? Okay, so let's say what is the capital of France? So in this particular thing, you have asked some question, and based on the training data, it will try to see and it will try to understand this context, that in this the capital of France, right? So this is basically a more weightage part with what I was talking to, France capital, right? So this is basically the keyword terms or the terms which it tries to recognize, and on basis of that it will try to give you the answer, right? Fine. So prompts could be more complex and used for various tasks such as text completion, translation, summarization, or even creative writing, as we already seen that. Okay, so we have seen a prompt in which we are trying to provide some information to it. On the basis of that information, we wanted to modify that particular resume or set of instructions, right? Okay, so effectiveness of the response depends upon how well the prompt is crafted. Okay, so it is not that like maybe if I try to write the prompt or on your systems, it has given you some other outputs. On my system, it has given me the other output. Okay, so that based on the prompt, it may vary. Okay, the basics basis is that these are probabilistic models. Maybe if you have written the prompt, it may not generate the exact thing. Maybe in terms of iteration, if you try to write the same set of instructions and try to give it the answer, maybe in some part it will try to hallucinate. Okay, right? Okay. Now the components of your prompt. When you are trying to write a prompt, what is the exact thing you need to do it? So let's take an hypothetical example. Okay. So you wanted to perform some task. Okay. You are trying to tell that act as a user, which could be your medical practitioner, right? So you can say to an LLM that you are a medical practitioner, okay, or a medical uh, student, or a doctor, or a judge, or a lawyer, right? Okay, so this you can have that particular user set. So user set means that as an you are trying to tell that LLM you act as a judge, right? You act as a medical professional or a medical doctor or something like that. Based on your profession or based on your understanding, okay, so these are some rules you need to follow. And I'm providing you some information about some patient, and these are the patient text images or data set, and you give me the output. Okay, right? So this could be one of the examples in which you have a user, then you have your instructions, then you have a context, and then you have an output. Okay, so this is one of the prompt which you can effectively make according to your use case. What prompt we have made just now is according to our use case. What we have done is in the context and in the input. we have provided the text, that is the resume. Okay, or you can say that, right? So input or the text we have provided as a resume, which act as a context, and we have given as the instructions for a task. This we have combined it. We can break down into simpler steps also. Instructions could be that give me two-liner pages in the Word format. Okay, in the JSON format, I want that information to be given. Okay, so it should not exceed to 200 characters, something like that. So these are the instructions which I can give it as a bullet point. Okay, remember, if you are trying to give me the resume, so just give me two-liner page, give me in a Word format, give me in a JSON document. Okay, right? Okay, so these are some kind of instructions which we can give additionally, in which we can just ask or tell the LLM that perform, you need to work on these instructions. And the task is that you need to generate the resume. Okay, so we have simplified that version. So in one task only, we have given the instructions also, we have given the task also. But we can divide it individually when the situation is complex or the problem statement is large enough. Okay, right? Okay, so let's say you act as a judge. Okay, and you wanted to uh, once this your case file. Okay, so based on the and you pass some context of the court filings or some PDF documents, right? And you give it as an input, and you try to tell some instructions that whatever you know about that case, that these are the instructions which we already know that, and you wanted to perform on this part. Okay, okay, or you can just say that give me that information from this particular case files. Okay, using this context, just extract me the party one, party two. You can extract me the judge name. You can extract me some information. Okay, so something like that you can just ask it. Okay, another part in the medical I already told you. In the legal I already told you. Also, there could be another industry also. Okay, e-commerce industry. So based on the input data could be in the JSON, it could be in the Word format, it could be in the external Word also, external site also. Okay, from the external Word, which is giving you the context, and you could have the images or data set or the task. And on the basis of that, you wanted to retrieve all the information, and then you can just ask them that go to that site, perform that operation from these images. I want this particular images ratings or your amount to be compared, and then so on and so. Based on what particular use case, you can just ask this. Okay, so basic prompt has these many instructions or these many components. You can say that. Okay, understood? Yes, no? Okay. Now another thing which I wanted to tell you, that there are frameworks. Okay, so for the prompts, there are prompt frameworks. Okay, so React is one framework, chain of thoughts is one framework, right? And so on. So basically what you do is, according to these frameworks, so these are some of the frameworks which are widely used. Chain of thoughts. Chain of thought is saying that you try to tell some instructions or give some instructions to the LLM, and then you can tell them, okay, so this reason this instruction, reason this particular statement, or think on this statement, and then give me step-by-step analysis of this, right? So these are some of the terms you can just ask it in this, like after reasoning, just apply the step analysis and then give me the answer. Okay, so these frameworks could be used in that framework. So you have some task defined, you have some conclusion, you wanted to have an output. Okay, so these are basically one part I have clearly defined you, that you have a user, then you provide a context, then you provide an input, then instructions and tasks. Another could be some operation you wanted to ask, that what is the task, what is the conclusion, what is the output. So and you have a context based on that. Okay. So these are the some important parts or components of using a prompt. Okay. And make sure that prompt is your precise and your clear, and it should have proper spacing. That also matters. Okay. And if given with the JSON or text or XML, that would also be nicely given instructions, because it has been seen in some of the papers that JSON text and your XML is a well-structured language. Okay, if you try to feed their data in this manner, and the chances of error or understanding this is better instead of your text. Let's say name, you can see give it let's say John, and then instructions or text or images or resume headings, right? Instead of bullet points, you can just omit that bullet points. You can give it as a JSON structure. Okay, so that will also reduce your cost, and also it is an effective measure in which how you are trying to give a prompt to an LLM, because this is a query language. Okay, and these input or these large language models work on this query language itself only. Okay, so if you are trying to work as a or think as a developer point of view, then it would be fine, and it will give you the best suited instructions and output. Okay, fine. Okay, so now let's say when you are trying to give a prompt, okay, so what are the important things? Input, context, instructions, and tasks. So let us try to like divide this particular thing. Create a brief narrative. So this is the task, right, which we wanted to perform. Okay, about a wizard quest. Okay, so this wizard quest is a instructions which we are trying to give it in a magical forest. This is the context. Okay, so where this physical, where this uh, uh, like visit quest is there in a magical forest, right? Okay, and we wanted to like this is also an instruction. You can say that surprise ending, right? So this is also instruction, right? So and create descriptions. Okay, provide and load for create creature descriptions. So this is the basically the input which we have provided. Okay, so these all things you can just give it as a JSON format also, that we have a task, we have instructions, we have a context, and we have the input, something like that. Okay, and here you can also specify a role, act as a judge, act as a medical practitioner, act as a sales agent, right? Act as a CEO of the company, act as a database engineer, something like that, right? So this task is this instruction is that. So in that way, it will behave or perform better. So this is basically how you are trying to break down your task into simpler and easy steps. This is how you are trying to tell a 2 year old kid. So basically, we are trying to spoon feed it and giving it in the exact manner with the short and the precise information. So that is the whole point in your prompt designing or your prompt analysis. Got my point? Yes? No? Understood? Any questions? Any doubts? Okay. So quick check, which component should be included in a prompt for a language model to translate a technical document from English to French. Specify the source and the target language in the instructions. Use a dataset unrelated to the technical field of the document. We could have include any background information about the document content, include technical jargon without explanation. What do you think, guys? A, B, C, or D? Okay, Pooja is saying A. What about others? We know A. Yes. So now A is the answer. Okay. So we need to specify the source and the target language. So that is the prerequisite or the criteria. Okay. So I think all are on the same page. Okay, so let's try to do the hands-on. Okay, so day-to-day activities like we can have a language translation or a LinkedIn profile and a sentiment analysis. Okay, so this we will try to see in practice. So what we will do is we will try to have some text. Okay, and there we will try to do some language translation, and we will try to see that this text could be converted into some other languages also. Okay, then we will try to create some LinkedIn profile, and then if my tokens is still remaining, then we will try to see the sentiment analysis also. Okay, fine. Okay, so let's say we are trying to operate a online bookstore, and we offer books in multiple languages. Okay, and so we wanted to use the ChatGPT for real-time book translation. So let's say we have a book, okay, and some guy happened to see this book, and from that particular text, they wanted to uh, create a language translation of this book to another language, let's say Spanish, German, or English, or let's say Hindi, some other, right? So we will try to see that like if this text we pass it to the GPT with a set of instructions, and it will try to convert into in some other language or not. So because what we learned from the theory part is that so ChatGPT could be used as a language translation. Okay, so we have seen generating text, we have already seen. That we have generated the resume, right? So now we are trying to see the language translation, whether it will try to do the language translation task for us or not. Okay, so let's try to work with the prompt. Okay, so let I try to. Okay, so this is the scenario. Imagine an online book offers a variety of titles in multiple languages to cater the global audience. Okay, so we want to translate this text into accessible to broader audience. Okay, so this scenario is no longer needed because we only want the prompt. Okay, so instead of using the prompt, we could also remove this, and we can use this translate the following book expert into multiple languages to make it accessible to a broader audience. Okay, so this is the text which I have given it. Okay, so let us try to run it. I will also give this in chat. So in Hindi, in Spanish, in French, in Chinese, in Arabic, German, Russian. So let me stop it. So now the next part is that we will try to create an impressive LinkedIn profile using your ChatGPT. Okay, so imagine you are trying to create your LinkedIn profile, but you are trying to aim it for something more exciting than a personal brand. Okay, so what I will do is I will try to give you a sample chat prompt in which you can modify. Okay, so based on every person has different LinkedIn profile. So based on your LinkedIn profile, you can just give some instructions and try some uh, creative ways in which you can make your LinkedIn profile more uh, uh, stand out and out of the box. Okay, so let me share you that. So it has given me the conversation started message also that hi, this is something like I just wanted to do it, right? We can exchange insights or even collaborate on a project. Looking forward to connecting. So if you wanted to do some networking over the email or over the LinkedIn messages, so this is how you can do it. Okay. So, so this is how you can make a LinkedIn post also with the SEO hashtags also. Okay. So on the basis of your resume, on your creativity, it has given it. Okay. So this resume is not mine. This is someone else. Okay. I just downloaded from the internet, and then I'm trying to do some asking your internet or a chat GPT to do it. Right. Okay. Similarly, you can also do it on your resume to create a LinkedIn post, and according to that post, you can generate the ideas, and you can be more like there could be uh, some uh, text or some prompts which could be modified according to your use case. Okay. So it says that in the experience session, provide me detailed entries that showcase my contributions and achievements using action verbs and quantifying results. Also suggest content for starting conversations with new connections, focusing on recent industry news within 100 words. So there you can see that we are trying to limit the words because it will try to generate and generate and generate and it will try to generate the max token. Okay, how many tokens it has been intended to, but you can limit it and up to how many words you are trying to restrict it. Okay, so this is what I wanted to like showcase to you. You can upload your document, and on the basis of that document you can make some nice LinkedIn profiles or LinkedIn headlines and emails, or write some beautiful text in which you can just uh, effectively use this thing. Okay. Okay, great. So let's move forward. Okay, so this activity you can also perform later. Okay, so let me show you another activity. So this is how we have done. We have created our impressive LinkedIn profile using our ChatGPT. Okay, so we have written an effective prompt, so which will help you to make our LinkedIn profile stand out of the crowd based on some set of instructions. Okay, and within seconds, it has clearly given with the instructions then how you can just upload it and go to the LinkedIn profile and you can get leverage of it. Okay. So then the next task is your sentimental analysis. Okay. So in the beginning, I have taught you that it is for text generation. The resume part task, we have already seen it. Then now the second task was your LinkedIn profile creation, right? Another is your sentimental analysis, right? Okay. So this we are trying to give it basically set of instructions that how my sentiments are being rated, either positive rated or negative rated, or it could be a neutral. And based on the context or the input text, we need to rate those sentiments. Okay, so let us try to do this also. Okay, I'll provide you this. Okay, so this is the prompt. Okay, and reviews. Let me provide you the reviews. So I will not. Okay, so this is your only one review which we have given you. Okay, because the thing is that there could be more reviews which we can give it, but we only wanted to restrict our reviews to only one part. So categorize the provided review based on the following input. Okay, positive, negative, neutral, mixed, or question or appreciative. Then these are the reviews, right? So provide the sentiment for the following reviews. So this is one. So likewise, you can have two, three, four. Okay. So based on these reviews, so we wanted to rate this into positive, negative, neutral, mixed. And based on this, we have given some instructions also. Okay. So this set of instructions, you can just include some keywords also, that how that some good, happy, or positive comments, right? Negative could be negation, could be no, could be some what we call uh, like a disagreement, right? So something like that. So you can just act some keywords also, or some give some instructions also to rate this, right? And on the basis of that, you can just give your sentiment. Okay, read this particular text based on the sentiment. So it says that the reviewer expressed both positive and negative opinions. Okay, so negative, and it has given the mixed sentiment, right? Okay, right. So you can just fiddle with some other options also. I will just share the other text also with you. Multiple data processing, kind of. Okay, okay. So let me explain you what is multimodal. Okay, so okay, so it comes from the term modalities. Okay, So there are different types of no, not modules. Okay. So modalities like we have a touch. Okay, we have hearing, we have your seeing, that is your vision, right? Okay. So this is basically there are five different senses which we can use it, right? So which is your taste, right? So these are basically modalities which we are trying to use it. And in terms of your LLMs or in this thing, so we have sound, okay, in which we have vision, which is your uh, images, okay, right? So taste and touch, like this we don't have, right? So right now, what modalities we have? We have the text, we have the sound, we have the images, right? So these touch and taste we are not using because this is on another level. Okay, hearing and vision we are using. So these are the basic modalities that we have in human beings, right? Okay, so this comes from the term multimodal. Then this multimodal, these are the modalities which your LLM can process. Okay, so text we already seen it, right? Like we are trying to write a text and this has clearly processed or given as an input as a text, and this has given us the output as a text also. Okay, so multimodal means that input could be your text plus image. Okay, and output also you can ask as a text or an image. Okay, it depends. So this is basically example of your multimodal capabilities, that these are the multimodal capabilities where your LLM can handle. Okay, fine. So you wanted to give as an input as a text along with that image, and you giving your reference to an image, you will ask that text based on the prompt. You will try to ask that this image, from that image as an context, give me some output. Okay, or you can ask from the voice also, or you can give your voice also, we give your sound also. From that sound you can analyze that sound and give some text that basis on that this recordings, give me some output, what they are talking about, what is the uh, reference or a summary or something like that. Okay, so these is basically your multimodal. Okay, understood? Yes, no? So integration of multiple modalities combines text, images, videos, and audios to more to understand and generate response. And like we can integrate, as I already told you. Okay, so multiple inputs we can combine text, image. We will also see a practical demonstration how we can combine image and text, and then we can get the output. Okay, so it is like a dynamic and interactive response. Okay, so basically you wanted to give a context in an image, and from that image you can ask a question, and this is on reading that image. Let's say your PET scans, your MRI scans, or your X-ray scans could be given to an LLM, and you can feed it to an LLM. And on the basis of that, you can ask some questions. According to this scan, what do you think? Okay, so you can just cross-verify the judgment of a doctor with an LLM. Okay, is my doctor report is being correct or not? Okay, so these could be the thing. So maybe like you try to give your income tax, what do we call, form 16, and on the basis of that you are trying to tell them, okay, based on this form, like just try to create the best possible income tax return. Okay, maybe could be a bill, could be your invoice. Okay, and you can do lot of things. Okay, so maybe it could be your voice could be also be there. Okay, in which the speech could be there, and on the basis of this speech, you wanted to understand. Maybe it is not in English language, maybe it is a Spanish or a Japanese language, and you wanted to understand the context, that what they are trying to speak. Okay, there also it really helps. Okay, on a video analysis also. So from the basis of that video, You wanted to try to understand that what this video is trying to uh, uh, say or content is there. You wanted to write that video from that video information. You wanted to write some textual description. That also it will try to do. So these are the capabilities in which ChatGPT has been emerged as a leader, in which they are trying to give the multimodal capabilities, which not only integrates your text but images as well as your sound and your videos also. Okay, right? Okay. So let us try to see the practical again, and we are trying to explore the multimodal capabilities. So we will try to see that how visual and textual inputs we are trying to input it. Okay. So let me. Okay. So we started with the getting started with Gemini and introduction. So then we worked upon that various evolution from since 1950 to present. Okay, so in the 1950s there was a tuning test. The tuning test is basically a test which is used to mimic the humans, right? So there was a room in which there was a person sitting, and he will try to generate a sound. So that sound would be a machine sound or a human sound, and that would be identified by the person sitting outside. If this is being identified correctly, then it failed the tuning test. Okay, and if it is identified, like if identified that it is not able to identify, then we say that tuning test, it is passed the tuning test. Okay. So then there was Alicia chatbot, right? So this chatbot was basically this chatbot was basically feed some kind of an instructions to the what we call uh, using your language regex pattern, right? Okay. Then came the neural networks. So in the 1980s, neural networks became very popular by the evolution of AlexNet. Okay, that was the major breakthrough. Okay, so then it helped to recognize the images, and from the images we could recognize the patterns. Okay, so using your uh, 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 neural networks, or we call as convolution neural networks, right? Or CNNs, right? So in that case, like if the image is being input to a convolution layer, it will try to analyze the patterns. Okay. From that patterns, it will try to identify that whether this image is of a dog or a cat. Okay. And based on the classification, we can do various tasks. So that was this neural networks era around 1980s. Then came the LSTMs, LSTM by LSTMs, right? And we have also RNNs, right? So the major disadvantage of neural network was that like it was a fixed length. Okay, so we were trying to have a fixed length input, right? And the time series and your NLP or your text was not uh, passed into your convolution neural network, because like it cannot process sequential data. Okay, so for the sequential data processing, we need some kind of an architecture which will try to input your sequence of data to the neural networks that will try to give you the output. Okay, so whether it could be your sequence to sequence or a machine translation or a language translation task, so that RNNs or LSTMs have to detect. So GRU was another mechanism, right? So which have gated mechanisms, and gates was involved into that. That also helped in your sequential data and was helpful. However, there were some challenges of RNNs using your gradient descent and optimization, so that was taken care of. Right? Then the major breakthrough came with the help of your attention mechanism, right? So attention mechanism, what does attention mechanism, what is attention mechanism? Attention mechanism is basically we wanted to focus the importance of a particular word. So this is a word. So this word, in this particular word, how much importance is there with respect to other words? Let's say I, with respect to other words, how much importance is there? It is having. Want, how much important it is having with respect to others, right? So this is how we are trying to provide some kind of an attention or some kind of an weights, right, in which we could decide that this word or this word or this word is having uh, higher importance. Okay, so that was the purpose of the attention mechanism, that to give some importance to a particular word. Earlier, all these sequential data was having same weightage. Okay, then it doesn't have any context. Okay, now the context, we could have a context in which we have to say that want is important, tool is important, I is important, to or go is not that much important. So with respect to the other word, okay. So that is the crux of the attention mechanism, that what word is having some importance with respect to the other words. So this attention mechanism was later introduced in the transformer architecture. So transformer architecture, what it does, it has an encoder, okay, and a decoder. So encoder, decoder, these are basically an uh, what we call complex architecture, in which we would having some neural networks, layer normalization, then skip connections, right? So and multi-headed attention mechanism, where the output could be passed into a decoder, which would having a mask attention, and we have the output. Okay, so this kind of an architecture was proposed in 2017 by Vaswani, right? Attention, all is you need. That was the paper. Okay, so there, like it was the state of the art paper in which the attention mechanism was used in the transformer architecture, and it addresses the issues what we have in the sequence to sequence modeling in the RNNs, right? So there, then with the help of this transformer architecture, so then the LLMs came into existence. Okay, and then now we are having your GPT series, which is a decoder only architecture of a transformer. Okay, however, encoder, we can still use it. So we can independently use encoder, we can independently use decoder, or we can use both. So there are three kinds of architecture which could be used. Okay, one is the encoder, decoder, and your both. So particularly your LLMs is using your decoder architecture, so which is helpful in generating your text, right? So as we have clearly seen that we have generated a summary of your resume, right? And it could be your sentiment analysis, that also we have seen, right? Then code generation, right? So these are the techniques we could see is very helpful in your GPT series or your LLMs. Okay, so this is the theory behind that how GPT series have been evolved. Okay, fine. Okay, so then we saw that what is generative AI. It is a category of AI system that would help in generating new content, images, text, music, or other forms of creative output. So basically, this generative AI is a subset of your AI, right? Which could be having a deep learning and your transformers architecture, right? So objectives, we could recognize patterns and offer a wide variety of options, and boost your creativity, and we can do multiple tasks, right? So basically, it not only helps you in your productivity, but also into your day-to-day life. It is very useful, and you can use and start working with your these Gen AI tools. So LLM. So it is called as large language models. That is your foundations, and it helps human to do various human-like text or generate human-like text across various tasks and domains, right? Okay. Okay. So then why we call it large? Large refers to a significant amount of size and complexity of these models. So as I already told you, ChatGPT 3 has 175 billion parameters. So parameters is basically your weights, right? We call it, right? In which these LLMs have been trained on. Okay. So these LLMs have been trained on large amount of data. So data like in terms of your GBs or petabytes or TBs, you could call it. Okay. So it is impossible to train these large language models onto your system. Okay, right. So you need high computing power, you need high hardware resources and much powerful GPU machines to train these high powerful TPUs or GBs or your TBs, right? Right. And then also the machine capability also you need it. Okay. So language because like the primary motive is that it is your natural language processing. So NLP, right? So this is in the NLP domain where you have your data which is feed as a text. And the model, so model which we use is basically your transformers model and is your decoder based architecture, right? So which helps in generating the sequence of text. So these are some of the widely used LLMs like ChatGPT 3.5 or 4 that we have been widely using it. Okay, so that we already discussed that it has multimodal capabilities, including power to process different formats like text, images, or videos. Okay, and it helps to generate the content, text summarization, sentimental analysis, or data extraction or language translations. Okay, so this all examples we have seen yesterday. We have seen how we can convert one language, one text to another multiple languages, right? Or sentimental analysis, or text summarization, or data extraction. So data extraction today we will see that how we can leverage this part. So these are the different models built by different companies, right? And every company offers some of the services to its clients. Okay, and they say that we are the best, and there is no hard and fast rule that which LLM is best. So it depends upon your use case and on to use that how you are trying to use it. And these models are keep on updating themselves, right? So as we speak, so there could be another version which could be released shortly, and this could be much better than your GPT-5 or your Gemini or your Cloud, right? Okay. So these are some of the free or open source tools so that we have discussed, right? And you can just explore these tools. Like so, some of the tools are free, and some of these are chargeable, and some come with 1 month subscription or a 15-day subscription. Okay, so these we need to understand. So then we did activity that how we can just create our resume using our ChatGPT and update with our requirement of a job alignment, right? Then what is a prompt? So prompt is a natural language text that helps to perform a specific task, and prompt which will lead to a focused and a useful output, and it helps the bridge between the user intent and the AI execution, right? So yesterday I told you clearly that prompt should be precise, should be accurate, should be correct, and it's something like that you are trying to tell something to your 2-year-old child explaining things, and that should be clearly and well constructed. Okay, it should be structured enough. So without the proper structuring and the uh, um, proper length, so the model wouldn't understand, and it can give you vague results. So prompt, how does the prompt works? So it's a like it's a straightforward question. So when you are trying to put a straightforward question, the language model provides an answer based on the training data. Okay. So how does it work? Let's say you are trying to ask a question and this question is being asked to a model which is being trained on huge amounts of data, right? So the data, if I talk about, so data is your common crawl. If you try to search on the internet, so this was the C4 or the common crawl data set which was used. And along with that, this is your Wikipedia data is also used, and your internet sites scraping is also used, right? And your news feeds and other things, right? So lots of data is being used for the training purpose. Okay. So sometimes it happens like when you are trying to ask some questions to the LLM, okay, the recent one. So let's say the Indian Prime Minister went to some country, right? Okay. So this is the recent news. Okay. So this recent news, if you tell to LLM, so maybe it wouldn't respond because he wouldn't know that data is not fed here. Okay. The recent one. Okay, so data must be up till some certain point. Let's say today is 26th or 27th, right? Okay, so 27th of July. Okay, so maybe the data is being fed up till 27th of June, like last month, 1 month is been updated. So this up till 27th to 27th July, the data is being not fed into this LLMs. Okay, if it is the data is not fed, it cannot tell you the events happened in this course of time. The recent one cannot because the data is not available, so he cannot predict, and it might give you vague answers. Okay, fine. So this you need to understand if you are trying to write some prompt and ask some question which the training data hasn't been fed or it is been the recent one. So it will try to generate some answer. That is for sure, but the answer wouldn't be correct. Okay, so think it in this manner. So if I try to tell a 2 old year kid that what subjects did you read in school? Okay, so she might do a tantrum and say that I didn't eat the food, I didn't go to the school, something like that. But she will try to give the answer, but the answer is not correct. Okay, in the same manner, you are trying to ask a question to the LLM and the LLM doesn't know the answer, but they will try to produce some answer because it's a generative model. It has to produce something. And then you are the judge to judge that like whether the answer given by an LLM is correct or not. Okay, so on your basis of human intelligence, you can just see that the answer which the LLM has produced is vague. So he's not giving me the right answer. So that is what we call it hallucinations, right? So it tries to give you the answers which are not contextually correct or factually correct. Fact, it should be factually correct means it should have the correct facts. Okay, in that sense, like if I try to tell you that uh, uh, what does Prime Minister Modi discussed in his current meet, right? So he doesn't know about the facts and the data isn't been fed, so he's unable to answer that question. So maybe conceptually, like he may have given the right answer, but factually it is not correct. So that is what the hallucination. Okay. Okay. So then we discussed about what are the components that make a great prompt. We have a specific task or an action or of a process. Then we do some set of instructions which we give to the LLM that these are the instructions you need to perform or stick to these instructions. And this is the context. Okay, so context and this is your input. So input could be in the terms of image, text, data set, or context could be anything. It could be information about the text, or could be image, or something like that, right? So these things are interrelated, the input and the context which you are trying to feed. So this we clearly see an example. So this was the task. which we wanted to create a brief narrative, okay, and instructions like about the wizard quest, and this is the context in a magical forest, okay, and the input we say that from a provided and your uh, creature descriptions, okay. So this is basically how we try to differentiate the particular uh, components of an prompt: the task, the instruction, the context, and the input. Okay, so then we did three activities of a language translation. Okay, that we try to convert text to a different multiple language, LinkedIn profile creation. Okay, I guess all of you have created your LinkedIn profile and updated on your LinkedIn, and then we also did your sentiment analysis. So this you can see that like a single LLM is capable of handling multiple tasks. Okay, so we can also do a classification, we can do a text generation, okay, and here we could do a machine to machine or language translation. Okay, so these are the tasks which we intend to do in our day-to-day activities or day-to-day life. Okay, so this was a LinkedIn profile and sentiment analysis. Then we discussed about the multimodal capabilities. So what are multimodal? So there are five kind of modalities which a human being has. Touch, we have, then hearing, then we have your speech, right? Then we have text, or then we have your image, right? Okay. Then out of that, this hearing, speech, and your text and image. So these are the modalities which your LLMs can process. You can give a text document, you can give an image, you can also give a speech, which could be converted to text or speech to text. So this is the power of your LLM, right? Okay. So then we also see one activity where we are trying to give a image of the US, and then we are trying to ask some questions that what are the possible tourist locations and how we can plan our stay in that country. Okay. Yes. So then we also see the negative or your sentiments, customer feedback. Okay. So this activity we need to do it. So let's try to do this activity, guys. Okay. So we will use a customer feedback. Okay. So this feedback is in the CSV, right? So we have a customer feedback CSV. So that we wanted to put it into positive, negative, or constructive. Okay. So so let's try to analyze the customer feedback collected after a major sales event, right? So the objective is to identify areas of success and opportunities for improvement, thereby enhancing his future sales strategies. Okay, right? So in the previous sessions of pandas and your numpys, right? So we did this activity quite often, right? So we have your customer sales data, and we wanted to increase the customer sales, right? And we wanted to predict the future sales also. Okay. So instead of doing all these operations, so we can just put this CSV into the LLM, and we can just ask them, okay, visualize the results, give me some pre-processing steps and everything. Okay. So it will try to understand the context from the CSV and try to produce the results. Yes. So Pooja, your limit has been reached. Your daily limit has been reached. Okay. Because the thing was that, like, that is what I was trying to tell you, that if you are trying to use the ChatGPT, okay, so it has a daily limit set. Okay. So, so that is why even like I don't know, like maybe like this would continue in this particular session or not, right? So my limit could also expire, right? Today you haven't used it. Okay. So I don't know, like because they have the limit of the tokens, right? I told you. Okay, so that is why they are trying to tell you. Okay, so you can just try it again tomorrow. Okay, right? So that is what I can tell you. Okay, so let us try to see what the output they have given us. Like the output, the data set contains customer feedback with relevant columns like review title, name, rating, date, category, comments, and useful. And in the comments field, they are trying to take the positive, negative, constructive, and neutral. And here is the value counts of each of the comments, right? So then it says that it seems like I can do more advanced data analysis right now. Please try it again. Okay, so this is something you can get more often when you are trying to use this, because you are trying to hit their servers and their servers could be busy right now, and they could say that like we cannot do some advanced analysis. Okay, because it is a free version, guys. So understand this thing. So they are trying to market this and trying to ask everyone to pay for it so that they can use their service. Okay. So sometimes like it can do the analysis, sometimes it won't do the analysis. Sometimes like it will say that your image, your daily limit has been reached. Okay. So I used the ChatGPT a very long time ago when it was into what we say, into a beta version, right? So now Indrajit is saying that I've got the pie chart. Yes. Okay. So I didn't get the pie chart, but I got the pie step-by-step Python script. Okay. So this is your Python script in which you can run this Python script. You can copy this Python script and then you can just see that what is the pie chart, and accordingly you can just see that. Okay. So it is very easy. So when you are trying to write some code, and this is how it says. Okay. So Ashish is also given some pie chart, and this is yes. So you can just ask Indrajit, like, can you give me a Python code snippet to run locally generated pie chart for the customers feedback category or something like that? Can you generate the step-by-step code? So by asking this something that you need to give me the code, so it will try to generate the code for you. Okay, right? Okay. So to make sure your Python packages has been installed, and try to run this and see for yourself. Okay. So this is how the code generation it does for you. Okay. So that we were trying to discuss in the theory part, that not only sentiment analysis, your summarization task or your text generation, right? And multimodalities, also the code completion and your code generation also it will try to do it. Okay, so this is very powerful, but use it with caution, and use your brain also, because whatever they are trying to tell you is right, but you are the judge. Okay, because as I told you, don't take it blindly. That always your chat GPT and these LLM models may be right. Okay, so you just need to verify your data also sometimes. Okay, so that is why your evaluator or a human expert is needed to evaluate these chat GPTs or your large language models, right? So sometimes the other way around, I've been seeing some news that somebody was using this chat GPT or this LLM model for a quite long into their code bases, and accidentally by like someone told ChatGPT to run some script, and accidentally like it tried to delete all the entries, and it popped a message that oops, that I deleted the entries. Okay, so that could also be done because it is a generative model and it can interpret your query. Okay, but the query which you are trying to write should be crystal clear and precise so that it may not interpret it wrong. And if the interpretation is wrong, and it may lead to some disappointing results, as I was trying to say that it deleted all the database entries, and it would have a huge impact. So if you are using something like that, try it first and then use it on the production or some environment. Don't try to blindly use it, because what these guys I understood were using like in every IDE, these tools get integrated. Okay, so when they are trying to write their code in some integrated environment and in your ID, so they are trying to ask the LLMs to do the job for them. Okay, in that process, the database entry is got deleted. Okay, so maybe you can just listen also because this thing is limited, right? Okay, so okay. So now the next session is about your explore powerful GPTs. Okay, so this we are trying to uh, compare the difference between different type of GPTs like ChatGPT 3.5, 4, and your Turbo, right? So the context length and the tokens has been increased, right? So yesterday I explained you about the tokens. Can someone tell me that what are tokens? Yes. The word spaces denoted on different colors, okay, keywords, number of characters and spaces. Yes. So the tokens is basically what I tried to show you. That was a representation. Basically, it was a representation, okay. But the actual tokens is that you have a word, okay, and that word is being converted into some numerical representation. Okay, numerical representation. So let's say this feature is a word. This could be have some kind of a numerical representation. This chat GPT dash and 3.5, right? So chat is let's say my 15. It is like 45. This is your dash is your 20, and this is like let's say 113, right? So these are some kind of representations. We call it as tokens. Okay, right? So when you are trying to pass like that feature, ChatGPT, something like that, so you have an array in which you pass all these. It will pass like this: 56, comma 15, 45, 20, and in turn, it is your feature, ChatGPT, right? And your 3.5, something like this. So this is how it is being represented. So this you can see that there are six tokens, right? I want to go to college, right? And these tokens would be represented in the form of token IDs. So 40 is being represented by I, 1682 is represented by want, 316 is represented by two, 810 is go to, and this is two, then this is college. So this is what they are trying to represent it by using this thing, right? So let's say I further say that yes, so there is some logic, Puja. Okay, so these how these are being allocated. Okay, so these are not allocated as such. Okay, so these are allocated by some kind of an algorithms. Okay, so this algorithm is byte pair encoding. Okay, so byte pair encoding, what it does is, let's say, so this is the algorithm which is used being your chat GPT 3. Okay, so I don't know about the 4 and 4 point mini. So different versions of this byte pair encoding has evolved, right, with time. Okay, so what it does is like what does byte pair encoding does is, let's say if I try to write here, okay, so now you can see that I is one token, am is one token, going is one token, two is one token, but call and GE is separately it is being divided. Okay, so every color you are trying to represent is of different token. And this is what your answers, your question is that, like, is there any logic? Yes, there is some logic. What they do is they try to divide the numbers, right? Let's say call and GE or L and LM, right? In future also, if we try to see LM or L, they try to break it down. Okay, so let's say uh, uh, come and coming. Maybe like they have a different strategy in which they will try to break down income and ing. So these are represented as two tokens. This is represented as one token. Okay, so there are different strategies or algorithms in which they try to use these tokenization strategies. So there is they right. So general thumb rule is that if we take around 100 tokens, so 100 tokens is approximately 75 words. Okay, if you are trying to write 75 words document, okay, that will close to have 100 tokens. So you may argue that there are 75 words. According to one word per token, they could have like 75 tokens. No, that is not the case. So here in this case, let's say I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 8 words. Okay, right? So there are 8 words. But now here there are 11 tokens they have tried to identify. Fine. So this is how this is your OpenAI tokenization for calculating that how many tokens have you used, or how many tokens this text corresponds to. Okay. So this is not something like representation into different colors. Okay. So this is representation into different token IDs. You can say that the token ID. So these are your token IDs. So this is being passed onto your LLM. The what you try to see is words, they convert it into token, and then the token is being passed. And in the output also, they generate the tokens, and then it gets decoded, and you get the text back. So this is the whole process, right? So I write it down. So you have your input text, you convert into token. Tokens means this array of numbers. You pass it to the LLM, right? LLM generates these tokens. Okay, and these tokens in turn gets back or decoded into a text which you see on the output. Right? So this is how it is working. Understood? Yes, no? So how many tokens we can avail on daily basis for a free chat GPT? Okay, so that you can go there into that particular uh, uh, in your this chat GPT. So there could be a daily limit. Like I don't know, like basically because you need to check. Okay, so that is the case, because they keep on changing, because this ChatGPT which I have used is your beta version, right? So when they try to release some 100 or 2,000 customers, so there I have used it. Right? I put an email and then they try to send me the link. Will the number of tokens be different in different versions for the same text? Yes. So it depends upon the algorithms, basically in the maybe in your some 3.5 version. Okay, so it may be different. Okay, so let's say this is having 11 tokens, and in the ChatGPT 3, so it may be different, right? So based on the algorithm, so this ChatGPT 3.5 may be using different algorithms or different strategies, right? So maybe it would be different. But for the ChatGPT 3, as far I know that they are using the byte pair encoding. So there is a sentence pair encoding also. So byte pair encoding, why the name suggests, because every byte, every word is being converted into a byte, and then they are trying to use it. But there is character-wise encoding also, sentence-wise encoding, and these are different algorithms which could be used. So it depends, like that what algorithm this ChatGPT 4.0 is being using, and for the GPT-3, I'm sure that they are using byte pair encoding, and now it is being legacy, right? So then they no longer use this ChatGPT-3. Okay, okay, okay. So right, then we were trying to discuss that the about the speed and all these things, right? Okay, right. So ChatGPT 3.5, ChatGPT 3 is legacy now, and now we have 3.5, 4, and 4 and 4.0 or turbo. Okay, so we have the faster response, and this is slower, but it will try to handle longer context and more cohesive summary, and it also handles very long context, right? So ChatGPT 4, as far I know, that it can handle a 300 pages uh, uh, book, right? 300 pages PDF book, right? In his context. Okay, right? So different prompts or different responses you can get based on your different versions. And also, it is not something like that I have asked a question and you are trying to ask the same question, the response could be same. So it must have a different response, right? As already we have seen that the pie chart haven't been generated on my system. So it got generated on one of your systems, right? So the results may vary. So it depends upon how you write the prompt, but in sometimes if there are consistent results, let's say what is the capital of France? Okay, what is who is the Prime Minister of India? So there the results might not change. Okay, so that is consistent. But if you wanted to generate a summary or or a text summarization, right? So there the results may vary depending upon that how it performs, and based on the version also it may be different. Okay, right. Okay, so now we stopped here in your yesterday's session. Okay, so now we'll be focusing on writing such as content generation, writing assistant, or editing. Okay, so Write for me is also very good tool of your ChatGPT, which gets your personal writing assistant. Let's say you wanted to write an email. Okay, so there you have some of your context and you wanted to craft it very precisely and in a humble way. You wanted to tell your manager that you are trying to apply for a leave, you are not well, or something like that, or you have made a project presentation and this is the outcomes and this is the findings. Okay, so this is very good and useful tool in which it will try to write uh, and beautifully craft your mail, right? Okay, so let us try to see this in practice. Okay, I will try to. If we copy the contents of output, will that also count in tokens? Uh, no, copy the content means I didn't get you, Pooja. You are trying to write one input prompt, okay, and send it to the written this sentence, right? So these are the tokens, right? Copied my resume today. Copied in the sense you copied your resume and uh, put it into the chat GPT. This is what you are trying to say. So let's say you are trying to copy your resume and put it here. This is what you are trying to say. Okay. So I tell you. Okay. So what is the okay. So yes, yes, yes. So now uh, yeah, I got your point. What you are trying to say is okay. So the thing is that let's say this is your resume, right? So this is your prompt basically. Okay, this is your prompt. Okay, so this is your input prompt. Input prompt. Okay, so these are having some, let's say, 200 tokens. Let's assume it, right? Okay, and this is your output, right? Okay, so this is the output, and this is also having, let's say, 150 tokens. Okay, so together they are being added, and this counts that how many tokens have you used. So your 350 tokens has been expired. Okay, right? So the moment you try to write the input, so these tokens has been calculated, and how much you are trying to ask, okay, and the output which they are trying to generate, that is also calculated. So this is how it works. Understood? So maybe you have written or copied your resume or given your resume, and also you have given the prompt. So this resume plus this prompt and the output. So these three things are being held accountable for your token calculation. Okay, so this is your chat GPT writer. Okay, so let me clear the screen. Okay, go to this site chatgptwriter.ai.app. Okay, and here you can see the interface. So interface looks pretty much good, right? So here you can write an email asking a satisfied client for a referral or testimonial. And here you have your models, right? So these are all the models. So ChatGPT Mini, Gemini, right? DeepSeek, right? So DeepSeek reasoning, right? So basically, like you can also fiddle with other models also, and you can have a writing style, how professional, casual, forward, persuasive, friendly, and you can also have a length that give me a short length, medium length, or a long length, right? Okay, so you can just use any of this. So let us try to uh, do one activity. So I'm trying to write a blog post for our new eco-friendly reusable water bottle product. Right? The blog post should introduce the product and its unique features. Okay. So first, I am trying to give some instructions that the blog post should give the product its unique features, discuss the importance of reducing single-use plastic in our daily lives, and third is highlights the health and environmental benefits of choosing our sustainable water bottle. Okay, these are some of the instructions which I'm trying to get it. Okay, okay. How do you open this writer app? So just click on this. I'll just which is informative, engaging, and persuasive, right? So writing style, we can also set this tone to connect with the health conscious and environmentally aware individuals, right? So here we can just ask that we can have regular ChatGPT or Gemini, right? So this is intelligence rank one and speed rank is also one. There is a rank two and a rank something like that, right? Okay. So these are all paid versions. You can also use DeepSeek also, right? So just you can just fiddle with it, any of it. Right. So let us try to use it and see what the response is we are trying to get. So you can see, you can try it out. Okay, let me share the prompt with you guys. Okay, there's an app also for this install ChatGPT writer also. You can download the app also and install it, right? Okay, so whenever you are trying to write an email, so this also gets populated there. Okay, so you can just try it out and then you can just uh, experiment with it. Okay, so that chat GPT which we were trying to use it, the this chat GPT. So that was your normal chat GPT, right? Okay, so it can take the task uh, like your normal tasks, right? But this was specifics to when you are trying to write something. Okay, so the more enhanced version. Okay, so this is your general chat GPT in which you are trying to ask it. Okay, so then we will also use your Canvas AI, which you are trying to use it for the designing purpose. Okay, for the specific task, there are specific chat GPTs have been built up on the top of that, where you can ask questions and then it would be very useful for it. Okay, so earlier we were using some Grammarly tool, right, to correct the errors of our writing style. So now these chat GPTs, like you can write an email, you can correct that email, you can just ask them so that it will try to generate an email for you, and which is very uh, tone friendly or your nice looking or formatted and with correct grammar, right? So these are the things which you can do it. Now you can see that, right? So here it is coming out to out of the 15 free responses used. So out of the 15 free responses, so only two have used and rest you can see. Okay, so that is like then it will try to ask me for the upgrade. So basically, like there are no free lunches and these GPTs have been you need to be cautious while trying to handle it, right? Okay. Okay. So let's move on further. So this was right for me, right? Which you are trying to focus on your personal writing assistant, right? Your coach, in which you wanted to write some journal, you wanted to ask them that whether this grammatically is this correct. You are trying to write some essay. You are trying to write some uh, uh, some summary, right? So an idea, right? And you wanted to uh, tell the GPT to be your personal writing assistant coach. Okay, right. So that's the next tool is your Canva AI. So it also helps in your increasing efficiency in tasks or workflows. So Canva AI makes the designing easy by creating designs, okay, from your description. So let's say you wanted to have a design created, and you have some idea in your mind, and you write that idea, you note down that idea and try to give that in the form of a description, and then you can just uh, make that description into a creative design. Okay, so let's try to see this in action. Okay, so let me open this Canva AI also. Mm, it is not there. Okay. Okay. So go to the internet and you can just I'll give you the link. Okay. So let's see whether this is open. So what I'm trying to give it a prompt, create an image for the social media post to announce the launch of Sunrise Brew. Okay. So there's a launch for the Sunrise Brew and I wanted to create a social media post. So the image should be show the warmth of the morning sun and the rich flavors of the caramel and a chocolate. Right? So I wanted to generate an image because I have a launch of my brand and I wanted to use the elements such as sunrise or morning light and a steaming cup of coffee to suggest a fresh start of the day. Okay. So now the reason why I've given you this prompt is that so you can see the wording of that prompt with the precise, clear instructions telling the ChatGPT that you need to do this. Okay, use these elements such as sunrise or morning light, right? To and a streaming coffee to suggest the some information, right? The instructions which I'm trying to give you. The design should be welcoming and energizing and include the text. So I wanted to include the text introducing sunrise view. Start your day with flavor adventure in a clear font. Okay, you can also specify the font, spacing, sizing, something like that. The style should be modern and clean and targeting your young professionals and coffee enthusiasts. Let us try to hit this and see what that happens and what it is generating. Okay, so this like what it does is that this ChatGPT.Canva is trying to load an external plugin, right, which is your Canva plugin, right? So it goes into the Canva site and it talks to that. It pushes this query to the another platform and take that response. Okay, so this is basically they are using some external tools to divert the information or divert the input, and from that input they have been using this information to get the output. Right now you can see that, right? These are the four options they have released. Okay, so looks pretty much good to me, right? If I wanted to start a coffee brand, then it is something I could use this one, right? Or this one because it has a text also. I could edit this text and then I could see that. Okay. So here also I could edit some text. Okay. Right. So this is also a very good tool in which so here you can see that talk to ChatGPT plugin canva.com, right? So from this, it is trying to deviate this information to another tool, which will get uh, the input and process it and takes the output and back it is being displayed here. This is how the whole process is done. So it depends with maybe like your screen is getting different or maybe it is there. It is available in mobile apps too. I haven't checked it. You can go and check it also because I don't know. Like I haven't checked it. So ChatGPT is being available in mobile also, and if it is having the mobile version, so you can just check it yourself. Yes, so options are coming different. So yes, maybe you are getting different options. As I already told you, that when you are trying to ask some questions, so the questions outputs, the out generated outputs may be different for different persons, and also depends upon the version you are trying to use for the ChatGPT. So tool for floor plan and interior design creation. Okay, so this tool could also be best because Canva and this thing. Okay, so you can explore because I have not gone in this direction that which tool is best for floor plan. Maybe I could search it down and then probably in the next session I could tell you. Okay, because there are multiple tools, right? I shared a PPT, uh, this, right? So these are like your productivity tools. Okay, you can see. Okay, for the design. Okay, so maybe for the design you have these many tools. So designs, Haskell, logo AI, stocking, right? Then your DALI, stable diffusion, okay, and much more. Okay, so maybe there's some startup which is working on designing your whole house floor plan and interior design creation. That also you can use it. Okay, right? So you can just explore these tools and just see that what is best fitted for your requirement. Okay, right? So Canva is some tool which we are trying to use and this thing that is widely used, right? For your uh, pamphlet creation of your website creation. Okay, so that is what we are trying to use it. Okay, yeah, you can ask Jalender the same question to ChatGPT also. Okay, but these tools, what it does, it will try to redirect to like this is basically for the designing purpose. Okay, so it is not something you cannot ask to ChatGPT. They will try to give you different answers also. But if you are trying to ask some designer guy, right? Like designer guy, you are trying to ask some coding questions. Okay, so maybe he will not respond correctly to it. But if you are trying to ask a designer the design-based question, so he may give you the correct answers. This is what we are trying to do. This Canva tool is basically for the designing purpose only. If you have wanted to do some designing thing, so then this tool is the best. Okay, if you go for the journal, so journal your chat gpt is best. Okay, and here then write me if you wanted to go and elaborate or expand in that writing terms so that you can use it. Okay, so now this is another tool, this which helps in coding, which is your automatic code generation, code reviews, or even educational tool for learning programming, right? So Designer GPT is a specialized AI design to instantly create and host beautiful, responsible HTML web pages tailored to user requests. So, for example, you have a something website in mind, right? And you wanted to do some coding, okay? And you want to generate the code for you, and then you can use this code to build beautiful websites of functionality, okay? So this is the tool which you can use it. So this is your Designer GPT. So let us try to use this. Okay. So provide a design concept for a website or a product landing page of an online store. So design should include a header with the store logo, right? A navigation bar, a hero section featuring the main product, sections for the product details and testimonials, and a footer. The design should be visually appealing with a balanced colors and scheme and a clear topography, right? So just try to hit this and we will see what it will do. Okay. So basically, like if you are trying to, okay, just see what the, because it is not giving me the, give me the code. Okay. So it is trying to ask that which image so you would like to me to use for the hero section and the product images, right? So I will say DALI. Let's try to see. Also, guys, let me know what output you are getting. So let's try to see different outputs. Yes, the Pooja is getting nice designs, right? So it looks impressive. Mine is still downloading. So such realistic designs it is trying to produce. Okay, so it failed right on my system because I've been using it quite often, and I can proceed with the HTML layout and provide an image. Yes, so I could say that yes, proceed with the HTML layout. Okay, nice. So now let's say it is giving you the logo, hero section, product deals, all the code it has been giving up you. Okay, this is your main content, this is your product features, this is your footer. Okay, so this Replit is also another tool. Okay, so you can explore it. So in the tools that the LLM tools which I showed you, so this is also a very good tool. So placeholder is used for the image until the DALE image is ready. So there could be a placeholder in which this could be your link. This the image source. This is the image source, right? So this is the placeholder. You can just put your image there and then you can just see. Yes, Nina is also getting some nice designs. So it's looks so realistic, right? Okay, so you can just change the name of your store and the product details, right? You can just write it down, okay? And right, so it will also save a lot of time and effort, right? When you are trying to build some website, and the coding also it will try to give it to you. Yeah, this design is also good. Okay, so now you can see that like there are like 10 different designs which we can get by a single prompt, which 10 people are writing simultaneously, right? Okay, right, and the kind of images which you are trying to get is very impressive. Okay, so the designs look realistic to me, right? And based on this you can create your website and you can just uh, tell them, right? Okay, so by a simple prompt, right? So you can just try to ask some questions, and from that, like it will try to give you some realistic designs and give you the output, which is for the research and the analysis, right? So let's say you are trying to do some research, and this is a consensus tool, which is a scientific research assistant leveraging AI to synthesize insights for academic papers. Okay, so what it is does is, let's say you wanted to do some research and like you wanted to solve some kind of an problem, right? For that, you need some research to be done. So that is basically your consensus, which is a scientific research platform, and it will be give you concise, clear summaries and evidence based on the response of your to your inquiries. Okay, so let us see this in practice. Okay, so I have given you the scenario as well as the prompt. So let us try to see what is the scenario. So scenario is that a researcher is conducting a literature survey on the impact of large language models on the natural language understanding, that is your NLU task. So they aim to gather and analyze recent studies that explore the advancements in LLM. So the recent advancement in LLM, particularly in the areas such as question answering, text summarization, or sentimental analysis. And the researcher is intent to identify key trends, challenges, right, and potential future directions. So based on this, they plan to highlight the role of fine tuning and transfer learning in enhancing the performance of LLM on various NLU tasks. So this is the scenario in which the researcher is trying to give it, right? So what prompt? So this is the context or the scenario which we are trying to provide. Based on this context, which we intend to solve it. we are trying to conduct a literature survey, right, on the impact on the large language models, and focusing on the recent studies that involves your question answering, text and summarization or sentiment analysis, analyze the key trends and challenges, okay, and give a summary of your finding, highlighting the potential future direction for this research in this area, right? Let us try to see what it will be the answer. Okay, so now it has clearly defined me the summary. Okay, so and the summary it will try to tell me on the basis of sentimental analysis or question answering or the text summarization. According to the task, it has been separated out. So beautifully, it has given me the links of that papers also, which I can just see and check. Right. So if you are trying to do some research, and the first and the most important thing is that you need to gather information that what is basically uh, what basically it is being developed or the research is going on in that area, right? Okay, so you just need to do some market analysis of what all papers have been released, and based on that, in what direction you can head to. Okay, so you can see that advancements in question answering, right? And these are the papers, performance in text summarization. So these are the papers, and then multilingual low resource adaptation. Okay, this is also very paper which is the recent 2025, 2023, right? Okay, challenges and the gaps, performance gaps in low resource settings or hallucinations and robustness issues, right? And future directions could include your bias mitigation and explainability, right? Okay, so this is something like if you are trying to do some research work. So this is basically your consensus uh, platform in which it will try to give you this thing. Okay, so the next tool is your universal primer. So this is also very good tool in which the fastest way to learn everything about anything, right? Okay, so this we also gonna see. Okay, so let us try to see this in action. Okay, so you can try it out on your own also, right? If you have a particular scenario. So this is a scenario in which what we are trying to do is we are trying to clarify the concept of chemical equilibrium for high school students, right? Okay, so the scenario is that Alex is a working professional with a background in engineering, preparing an important project presentation that involves understanding of chemical equilibrium principles, right? So despite his experience, it struggles to grasp how changes in pressure and temperature and concentration impact on chemical equilibria according to the Lee-Chatter's principle. So basically, he just wanted to understand the Lee-Chatter's principle and how the changes in pressure, temperature, and concentration impact your chemical equilibrium. So he wanted to seek straightforward explanation with real-world examples to deepen his compensation and facilitate practical application in his project work. Okay. So now the prompt is that offer a practical explanation of Lee-Chan principle and its relevance in chemical equilibrium tailored for working professionals. Describe the influence of pressure, temperature, and concentration in on chemical equilibrium. Right. Okay. So this is the prompt. Okay. So we can directly put the prompt and then we can check. Okay. So it has given me the high level overview with analogy that how like we can use this Lee-Chatler principle that offers technically regression immediately in the near industrial or engineering context. Okay. Okay. So you can also come up with your own basic prompts, right? And if you wanted to learn something, if you wanted to be curious about how does it work, then you can just use this. So basically, what we have done is we have used four different tools, which is your ChatGPT writer, then we used Canva, then Designer GPT, then Consciousness, and your Universal Primer, right? So according to your use case, you can ask to your normal ChatGPT also, but these are specific. because it will try to direct that site in which they can access that information. Okay, right? And then it can use that. Okay, so make sure that you are like when you are trying to use it. Okay, so use with the caution and try to clearly express your views or ideas in a much clear language. Okay, so that would help. Okay, so for this, like we and come to the conclusion of this, not this session, but this slide, that Gen AI is a subset of artificial intelligence that leverage machine learning and deep learning techniques to generate data, right? So LLM could be classified into several ways depending upon their functions and the users. Okay, functions like let's say we have different types of tools which we are trying to use it. Okay, so that is how it is being classified in several use case or several different domains we can call it. What are prompts? Prompts guide the Gen AI to understand the context and specific requirement for the task. We all know, right? So we talk to these LLMs or the Gen AI by using our prompts. So it also performs various complexities such as creating resume, LinkedIn profile, email classification, and sentimental analysis and day-to-day tasks. So which we have clearly demonstrated how it is very effective in creating our LinkedIn profiles or creating our posts or Instagram posts or messaging, right? Or blogs, right? Okay. Then the multimodal capabilities, right, which we have the images, videos, or could be text, can simultaneously process and generate various types of data such as your text and images. Okay, right. So this was the key takeaways, right? So let's try to optimizing Gen AI models. So this is the topic we are trying to do. So Gen AI design various types of creative content, right? So that we already seen, including your images, text, and music, emphasizing its role in creative endeavors. Okay, so LLMs like ChatGPT are advanced AI models that go beyond the understanding of the human language. So there are other than ChatGPTs also that we have not explored, but in the coming sessions we will be exploring those as well, right? Like your Gemini and your Claude or your uh, Olama, right? And your DeepSeek, right? So these are some of the chat GPTs which offer some free tools are there, some paid tools are there. Okay, so that will also do it. We will also try to explain you that the practical APIs implementation, that how we can use it in our code. Let's say we are trying to build some code or a platform, right, which uses this Gen AI tool. So that also I will try to make sure that you have an APIs. Okay, so you can get these APIs from OpenAI, and you can write your Python code in which you can build your own Gen AIs or Chat GPTs. Okay, right? So what you are trying to do is you are trying to build a platform where you can write something, and in the internally your API it would be called to your OpenAI, and then it will feed the response, and you will provide that response. So that also we can do it, right? So that also I will try to, if time permits, I will try to have a session in which the API processing I will try to teach you. Okay, right? So now, so we have seen that like the how the summarization happens, right? If you are trying to provide the prompt. And in this end of the session, what we will do is we will try to generate effective prompts and optimize interactions with Gen AI models. Okay. Now the only thing challenge what we have is that how to write the prompt. How to write the prompt. Okay. What are the ways in which we can write effective prompts? Right? Because all these things matter a lot, right? The prompts which we have written has given us right kind of information what we are trying to achieve. But what are the ways? What are the frameworks in which we can write effective prompts? Okay, so that we will try to see. Advanced prompting techniques such as zero shot, few shot, chain of thought, self consistency, and three of thought. Uh, generate the desired output from the GenAI models. So these are some of the techniques which we are learning now in this particular slide, that how we can leverage these things and improve the uh, output according to our use case. Okay, so this is what is called as fine tuning. We are trying to fine tune our prompts. Okay, right. So let's say how it will help, right? Let's say you have an LLM, okay, and you write one prompt. P1 is the prompt, and you feed this to the LLM, and it gives you output. Let's say O1. Okay. So now as a human, you will see that this output is not perfect according to my specifications. What you will do? You will have a feedback mechanism in which you will try to update this prompt. Okay, right? So you will modify this prompt to a little bit, that it would have some clear instructions, and if the instructions are missing, then you feed again to the LLM and generate the output too. Okay, and then you will check whether this output is what I need. If not, then again you need to refine this prompt. Okay, so this is what is called as instruction fine tuning. So the instructions or the prompts which you are trying to use, you are trying to fine tune that according to your use case, and you try to do up till now that when you get the desired output. Okay, in this case, like it could hallucinate, and it can provide you vague answers. Then you need to change your prompt and then try it again and again. It's a basically a trial and error, and basically on the right side of instructions or some structured output or structured input can give you some nice output, as we have already seen in our case, that the we have provided the instructions very clearly and precise, and it gave us the nice pamphlets or the UIs designs, right, in our case. Okay, so now we'll begin to the instruction to fine tuning prompt engineering. Prompt engineering involves conversational AI models such as ChatGPT to generate the desired output. Okay, so this we all know. So these all chatbots are your conversational AI models or AI tools. So a well-built prompt must have clarity. So clarity in the sense in terms of your text. Okay, so you have a clarity in your mind that I wanted to make this application, I want to generate this kind of an output. But from that mind, you just need to have a textual informational, right? What kind of a text you want. Let's take an example. If I try to tell my like 2-year-old kid to go to the shop and buy some sweets from that shop, right? So how I would direct that child, right? So it is basically as you are trying to write an effective prompt to tell the LLM to generate me the output. So how would I say? I would say that okay, uh, you come out of your house, okay, and you drive or you walk around 50 meters, okay, and then you see a left turn, and you again go 10 meters, and then you see two shops. Okay, and from one of the shops which named, let's say, grocery store, so you go to that shop, buy some sweets, and come back the same distance as you have walked. Okay, so this is the set of clear instructions which I am trying to give it. Exact information that you walk this much space, you go left or you go right, and then you go to the shop, ask the shopkeeper, like give him the money if he asks, right? So purchase something like 5 rupees coffee or 5 rupees candy, right? Something like that, and then come back. Okay, so this is a one kind of a prompt which has some kind of a clarity what we are trying to achieve, and with the specificity, like specific instructions have been given: go left, go right, 10 meter, right, 5 rupees, okay, candy, right, and come to house, right? Okay, the format, which format? It could be a text format, it could be a JSON format, it could be an XML format. Okay, so these are the formats which are being widely used. although there are many formats which we can use it. So let's say CSV, we are trying to upload a CSV also, right? In the basic context, right? Right? It could be a PDF also, right? So basically that formatting and this should be correct. Okay. And the context, as you already know, that it should have some context. So that should be given to the LLM for an effective communication. Okay, right? So instead of this, I could only say that, okay, bring me a 5 rupees candy. From where, right? From where I need to bring that? Okay, so that is a very vague question. That is an open question, right? Let's say I wanted to travel the world. Okay, so the LLM would ask that where you want to travel. Is there any specific idea or itinerary you are trying to plan? So you must try to tell them, right? So this is a clear set of instruction. I'm trying to plan for a weekend in USA for 5 to 6 days, and I'm planning to go from India, right? In and hoping to get a flight in the morning, preferably in the morning, so that I could reach in the evening there or something like that, right? And I wish to cover 2 cities and plan for a five day trip, right, with my kids and children and wife and so on, right? So this is how you are trying to give the well-crafted prompt, okay, a precise prompt with some specificity and the clarity, right? So this is what we are trying to learn here. That if you are trying to write a prompt, so just think it that this is a 2-year-old kid and he doesn't know about anything. But if you are trying to provide meaningful and clarity based instructions, so there the output is generally accuracy of the output is generally high. So the importance is that right, the prompt engineering, why it is being needed. So basically, like, maximize AI potential, encourage AI literacy and creativity, enhance user interaction and increase efficiency, and support ethical AI use. Right? Okay. So one thing, like if you are trying to give a AI prompt, okay, and you try to say that, okay, give me the recipe of making bomb, so it will not respond. Okay. So these have been already been filtered out by using guardrails. Okay, so guardrails is basically what it happens is that when you are trying to provide some input text, okay, from the input text, right, so it will try to judge that whether this kind of an information is required or not. Okay, so this is it is ethical for the society or not? Okay, if you are trying to ask that, okay, give me a listing that how many ingredients are there in making a bomb, so it will not tell you. Okay, because this information is being restricted by some kind of an guardrails which works internally in their systems. Okay, because when you are trying to feed that data, nobody looked at that data and tried to validate that data. Okay, so and it feeded that data almost like around tons and tons of TVs data was there, and it got validated. But when you are trying to put an input to it, maybe it will try to give you the output. Okay, so the guardrails are there at the input level as well as at the output level. So both sides the guardrails are there. Okay, so even if like if one of the information or the guardrail is being skipped by this input guardrail, the output guardrail will try to object it and restrict it. Okay, so that is why the information doesn't reach at the output level if it is ethical and unethical to the society. So the most important concept is that we wanted to use AI as an ethically. Okay, so it would help the society, not disrupt the society. Okay, and we wanted to encourage AI literacy and creativity. Okay, so we wanted to like yesterday someone asked that it is hampering our human creativity. Yes, it is hampering us, but these tools, you need not to depend fully on these tools. So let's say you have some part of a creativity, you can ask these tools as a co-pilot, right? So these tools act as your co-pilot in which you can act you can ask them to help you out in some areas, in some certain fields. Then it will release some output which you can just uh, see this output and make use of your applications, right? So this is how the importance of prompt engineering works. Okay, so let us try to see the prompt examples. Okay, right? So this is a simple prompt. As I already told you that I wanted to travel the world. So write a catchy caption for my Instagram post. So what is catchy? Right? You haven't explained the catchy caption, right? So so ChatGPT just gave the answer, right? What it thinks. Okay, embracing the beauty of a simplicity in a chaotic world. Simple joys find yourself. Okay, right? So according to his knowledge or the data which is being fed to the ChatGPT, so it will try to uh, label this term as catchy, or the output is catchy, right? He thinks that this term it could be a catchy, okay, according to the ChatGPT. But if you try to write some sort of uh, precise or some set of instructions which are clear enough, right? Craft a concise and engaging caption for the Instagram post featuring our refreshment drink. So we are now targeted on refreshment drink. Okay. And I want to have a concise and engaging caption. The target audience for this post are young adults, travelers, and partygoers. Okay. So this post has to be kept in mind that which class of customers we are targeting. The class is your young adults, travelers, and your partygoers. And also include five high performing hashtags related to this refreshment. Okay, so now you can see that this was a simple prompt, and this is very engineered prompt in which you are trying to add some details to it. Okay, fine, right? So this is how you wanted to write not just random prompt, but some kind of an engineered prompt in which it will give you the desired outputs. Okay, right. So now we'll move to the advanced prompting techniques, right? So let's say there are some techniques which is called as zero shot prompting, few shot prompting, chain of prompting, self consistency prompting, and tree of thought prompting, right? So these are basic few techniques, right? So there are other more techniques also. Let's say react, reason, and act. So it calls that reason. We wanted to reason the instructions, and then we need to act on that instructions what we provide, right? So there's a car framework also, clue and reasoning framework, right? So first we deduce the clues and the reasonings, right? And then we try to feed it. And there are so many other, like based on the papers which we try to see. So there are multiple frameworks the users have used in terms of this prompt techniques, right? So the basic one is chain of thought, few thought, and your tree of thought, right? Okay. So we'll try to focus on this, and we will see that how it will help when your results are not optimized, and then you can do some sort of tweaking in your prompts, and then it will give you the optimum results. Okay. Yes. So are you following, guys? Yes. Any questions? Any doubts? Yes. No. Yes. Anyone? Okay. Fine. Okay. So let's talk about zero shot prompting. Okay. So one is zero shot, few shot, or one shot. Okay. Right. So let's try to understand what is this zero shot, few shot, and one shot. Okay. So zero means zero. Few means there are few samples. One means one sample. Right. So let us try to understand this. So zero shot. So we are trying to create a social media post for a brand. Okay. So we are trying to create a social media, and here we are not providing any examples. Okay. So let's say we could say this. I wanted to generate a social media post, right? Right. So this is your prompt with the zero example. Example means that you are not providing any example. An example you can provide here. I wanted to generate a social media post. For example, you can give that social media post. So this is something I wanted to generate, right? So you can give one example, two example, right? Let's say you come across some social media post, Instagram, and you find this post very intriguing and you find it very creative. Okay, so let's say post one, and you want to write or do uh, your social media post similar to this post. Okay, so then you can put this post here. I wanted to generate a social media post based on the below post. Okay, so this is like an example of one shot. You are trying to provide some examples to the LLM. Okay, so this was the original prompt, but you are trying to provide some example. If you provide one example, then it is one shot. And if you provide more examples, then it could be few shot. And if you don't provide any example, then it would be your zero shot. Fine. So this is how you zero shot, one shot, and few shot prompting is done. Why it is being done? Let's say you are giving some additional context to your GPT, telling them, okay, I wanted to generate something, and I have seen something that based on this example, you generate some content. So what it will do, it will try to see this example. Based on that example, it will try to generate it. And if you try to provide more examples, the more is the better. Okay, but this more comes with the cost of the tokens, as I already explained you. Okay, so you can give as many examples as you like, but that comes with the cost of the tokens, right? Okay, so generally it is being seen that instead of providing zero shot prompting, you can provide one shot or few shot, so that helps to give the output better, because you are trying to provide, you are trying to tell something. Let's say there are two friends, okay, right? So they wanted to shop some kind of a dress, okay, right? So one friend is trying to explain the other friend that I wanted to uh, uh, wear that dress, right? He's trying to explain. So this friend will try to say that, do you have any example of some dress that I could say that? He said that yes, I have some dress. So this dress looks something like this. So then this guy, the guy too will explain, will reason it better, and it will try to understand it better. That okay, so this guy is trying to look for a dress which looks similar to this pattern. Okay, right? So this is what we are trying to do here also. That when you are trying to feed the inputs to the LLMs, so you provide some example. That let's say this is the example of some picture or design that I just want. Then based on this design or example, you wanted to generate me some output, right? So this is your zero shot prompting. Okay, okay. So it provides the model with the limited number of specific examples in a definite context. Okay, right? So it will not train the model. So this you need to understand, it will not train the model. Okay. So we are just trying to provide the context to the model, right? With examples so that it could take that example and try to understand from that example and try to give us the right kind of an output. So this could be called as in context learning. We are trying to learn in context. We are trying to provide that context, okay, inside your prompt, and from there the LLM is trying to learn itself from using that examples. Example 1, example 2, right? So this is a kind of an data which you are trying to provide to the LLM, and from this data it is trying to learn in context. This is called as in context learning, right? Fine. So this is what it does. So generally in context learning or providing examples is a better way in which you can perform the accuracy of your output. Okay. Understood, guys? Yes, no? Okay. So Anurag, what you haven't got it? Okay. So I'll repeat it again. Okay. Right. So okay. So let's try to see one prompt. Okay. So this is a uh, Plumboxigly. I couldn't pronounce it correctly. Okay. Right. So this is something a word. Okay. So this is a word. Okay. This is a word. Okay. So this word could be fantastic creature that inhabits the enchanted forest of or of land. An example of a sentence that uses the word Flummoxibili is, right. So we are trying to you give an example of this word. Okay. So we have tried to give that example that this word is a fantastic creature. This is the definition of that particular word, and we are trying to give that example. Now we are trying to put that another word, and we are trying to say that this is a word, and can you give me an example of the sentence that uses the word quiz whistler? Okay, so here we are trying to give one example of that particular word which we are trying to use it. So this is your one shot example. Okay, it tries to learn from this first context, and then based on this context it will try to generate it. So this is what is called as one shot. And if you try to give multiple examples, so then it would be called as. So when you are trying to, so this is your LLM, right? Okay, so you are trying to provide a prompt and it gives the output. Okay, so writing a prompt involves three processes, which is your zero shot, one shot, and few shot. Okay, zero shot is basic. Okay, so let's say you are trying to write a prompt which you wanted to write an Instagram post, okay, based on some ideas which you have got into your mind. Okay, you are trying to write it. Okay, so this will not have any examples. Fine. So you feed to the prompt and it will give you the output. Now another one shot, you wanted to write an Instagram post, okay, based on some idea which you have on a mind. Also you can give an example. Let's say this was the Instagram post of my friend depicting this information, and it shows this hashtags and so, right? So you also can give that this is the example and this is the pattern which I want to get my ideas generated. Because Instagram post could have, like, it will try to generate the pattern itself. But you are trying to restrict here that, okay, this is the example which I'm trying to give it. This could be the pattern which I am thinking about. Okay. So this is one short example in which you are trying to give one example to it. Few short is that you can give more examples to it. Okay, in one example it could be a pattern, another example it could be another thing in which your some creative ideas or the creative text is written. Okay, so that way it comes a few or one shot. Okay, so basically this helps to the LLM to understand what you are trying to think in your mind. Okay, the examples and the context. So it tries to learn from these examples. It learns, not trains. Okay, so training, we are not trying to train, we are trying to learn from these examples which you are trying to feed it. And this is what is called as in context learning. Okay, so now the another method is your chain of thought prompting. Okay, so what is this? It uh, generates sequence of outputs rather than getting the entire output at once. Right. So first you need to do some sequential outputs, and then we passed it on the another, then passed it on another, and then it follows a chain. Right. Okay. So it helps to uh, uh, get a detailed response. Okay, because we are trying to focus on one part first. From the explanation or the detailed output, we are trying to focus on the other, and so on, right? So this is how the chaining of the thoughts is actually doing the process under the hood. Okay, so let's say, what are the main threats to global diversity? It has given me the answer. Then, given these threats, based on these threats, it is trying to ask which conversation strategies are providing to be more effective. So we are trying to break the statements or the prompts in parts. Okay, and this is very effective manner, because let's say you have written what are the main threats to global diversity based on the threats which conservative strategies are providing to the most effective, right? So you can write in a one single statement also, right? But the thing is that if you try to work on it on the first part, maybe this is up to your requirement or not. So this you need to check it. Whether it is up to your requirement, then you can change or modify this prompt. Basically, this is the scenario. So one output becomes the input to another, right? Another prompt, and then you can just make a chain and then evaluate your responses. So this is how your chain of thought prompting works. So the second example, how do these strategies integrate with local human communities? Okay, so you can just see that the answer has given that by involving local communities in decision making, provided alternate livelihoods, prompting, education, and awareness, right? And what are the emerging technologies are supporting conversation efforts, right? So one prompt, you make it, give the output, and then again, right? So this is how you deal with the chain of thought. Not you are trying to give the prompt as a whole, but break it into a parts and then evaluate step by step. So this is the main motive behind chain of thought prompting. Understood? Yes? No? Any doubts? Then the self consistency, right? So self consistency prompt is that it delivers reliable and similar responsible when asked the same questions repeatedly. What is the capital of France? So consistently it will try to answer Paris, right? So this is self-consistency. We all know that it is based on the fact that the capital of France is Paris and it will not change. Okay. So in terms of your text generation, when you are trying to generate something, right, it might give you some different answers. But in terms of your self-consistency prompting, where the output is fixed, so there the outputs won't change. So we can also check it ourselves also. So these all things we will do practical in the next session, right? So how we can do your chain of thought prompting or zero shot or one shot, right? So this part I have dedicatedly like focused on the theory part so that you can understand it. And even if you don't understand it, so in the next session we will be doing our hands-on to it. Okay, I will be giving you some examples, and there we will seeing the practical implementations of it. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to take the theory first is that so you get a double revision of it. Okay, fine. So this is the prompt that what is the largest planet in our solar system, that is the Jupiter. And if you try to change the uh, uh, prompt with some other modifications, that can you tell me which planet is the biggest in our solar system? Still the answer remains the same, right? because here it tries to deduce the context, that what context we are trying to refer to and what is basically here referring to, and the results are almost the same. So the last part is your tree of thought prompting. So what it does, it forms a tree with various thoughts or paths or steps resembling a branch of a tree, right? So each part is basically a potential step or idea towards solving a problem. Okay, so all these steps can contribute to the problem solver, right? So then the AI evaluates these steps, that which one is the best solution, and it will try to give that best solution for you, right? So it will try to divide the task or the complex problem into multiple parts, and it will see that which part is the best for the problem solver, or it can combine these four steps and to generate one output. So this is your tree or thought prompt, right? So here you can see that find x into x plus 3 equal to 1, right? So it is trying to solve step by step. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4, right? So this we can also say that think and act or reason, right? So these are all the things which you can involve, and there it will try to break down the problem into smaller steps and then evaluate and arrive at the correct solution.
And that's bring us to the end of this session. We started with generative AI and followed the technology all the way to large language models, tokens, transformers, and attention. Then we moved from understanding how these models work to understanding how we can communicate with them more effectively through structured prompts, examples, and advanced prompting approaches. The biggest takeaway is simple. AI capability matters, but how you communicate your requirements matters too. So the next time an AI tool gives you an average response, don't just regenerate the answer. Look at your prompt, improve the context, define the task more clearly, and experiment with the technique you are using. So if you found this session helpful, then try one of the prompting approaches we covered today. And tell us in the comment section below how the results changed. If you have any doubt or any queries, let us know in the comment section below, and our team of experts will be happy to help you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next session.